Hello, hello, hello. Hello, folks, and welcome to episode 35. Oh, and I'm going to admit our other co-host here. Episode 35 of Fright Lounge. I am your host, of course, Rigor, and I am the host of Then Is Now podcast, The East Meets the West, the Cult Movie Lounge, and of course, here. And can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Welcome to the 35th episode of Fright Lounge, where we are going to talk about four George Eastman films. Joining me, as always, is my co-host Bill Van Ryn from Groovy Doom. Welcome, Bill.
Hello, hello.
One of our co-hosts, Dantes Alexander, could not be here, although he may chime in a little bit later. He's in Chicago, and they're having some issues with tornadoes, so
What I
everyone
heard
send
there.
him prayers and good thoughts. But also joining us again, I think you were here once before, is Sam Panico from Drive-In Asylum and BNS about movies, right?
Yep. Hello, everybody.
I said,
Awesome, awesome. And for the first time, of course, is Owen. Owen, welcome
hello.
to Fright Lounge. Glad you could be here today.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome, awesome. So we are gonna have some fun tonight. I have to apologize. I think I screwed up when I posted this episode. I for some reason I cannot hear my own voice, and that drives me crazy. I should be able to. But anyways, um when I posted this episode, I listed it as episode 34. It's actually episode 35. So for those who are at home keeping score, don't kill me. I know no one's doing that, but I felt like saying that. So before we get into things, Bill and Sam, we have the drive-in super Monsterama coming up, right?
Yeah.
Sure do.
Sorry,
You caught me.
Sam.
Caught me.
I was gonna
You
let
caught me
Sam get
mid.
it.
I'm
You
like,
caught me in mid drink. I was like, "Oh, Bill has this, and I'll take a sip." We're pros. We're pro. We do this every other week or so.
It's
We're
not like
good.
we haven't been doing this for more than a week. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
so Owen, and for those at home who don't know, the drive-in Super Monsterama, it's a 2-night festival every April and September at the Riverside Drive-In in Pennsylvania, and these two awesome guys, George and Gene, run it, and they're actually going to be on Then Is Now in a couple of weeks. I
Okay.
just actually had Natalia Livingston from General Hospital on the show on the most latest episode. But anyways, um, so we're going, you guys. I'm gonna be there. Charlene and I are coming. We're taking our grandson this time. It's gonna be a fun time. So Bill and Sam, why don't you guys tell us just a little bit more about what's going on this year for the Drive-In Monsterama?
Sure. So night one is the first four Nightmare on Elm Street movies all in a row. So I foresee there being a pretty packed house that night because those movies are, always remain popular. So that's going to be exciting to see. And that's Friday night. And then Saturday night, Bill, probably gonna need some help with this one. I know
Yeah.
Frankenhooker is one of them in Basket Case 2, correct?
Correct. Also Doom Asylum. And what's the
Isn't
fourth
brain
film?
brain damage is one of them,
Brain
isn't it?
Damage. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Patty Mullen, Frankenhooker herself, is gonna be there in person
Nice.
at the drive-in. And she'll have lots of swag to sign, photo ops. It's gonna be a scream.
That's awesome. I saw Frankenhooker when it was first released at a special screening in Boston, and my face hurt at the end of that movie from laughing so hard.
Hmm. And it had that unforgettable VHS box. I don't know if
Yes,
you were lucky enough to actually see one in the
I did.
wild,
Yeah.
but at my mom and pop video store, every time I went in there, there was a button you pressed and it would say, "Want a date?" So
Do you remember
fabulous
Bill
memories.
Bill Bob's Drive-In Theater? Do you remember that
Joe
on like the
Bob?
movie channel? The
You
movie
mean
channel had Bill Bob's Drive-In Theater.
it was Joe Bob, Joe Bob Briggs. Yeah.
Joe
Was it
Bob
Joe Bob?
Briggs.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's where I first saw Frankenhooker. It was definitely on
That's funny.
one of his shows.
That's funny. Yeah, I met him in person one time. He's still got stuff going on. He's on Shutter, the
Oh,
horror
really?
app. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was entertaining.
Yeah.
Sam met him too.
Yeah. I couldn't even talk to him. And he's a big deal to me. So I clammed up and Bill just laughed about it.
I was almost the same way. It's funny because back in like, I don't know, the late 1980s, there was a drive-in theater north of Boston I used to go to. Oh, and you probably remember this. It was the Starlight Drive-In Theater in North Reading.
Yep.
Mm.
And I wrote to him about it because it had closed down and I was in college and I'm like, what do I do? I'm like, it's closed down and I skip classes and just drive over to the drive-in and sit and look at the screen. And he wrote back to me. I still have it somewhere in my files. And he was like, you got to get you some investors and you got to get together and you got to build that thing back up again. And of course, I never did it. And I met him in 2011 at the Horror Hound convention in Indianapolis. And I was like, yeah, I got your letter and I never did what you told me to do. He's like, it's all right.
You were just a kid.
I know. All right, folks. So tonight we have gathered to discuss 4 George Eastman films, 3 of which starred him and 1 he directed. They are Absurd from 1981, Rabid Dogs from 1974, Anthropophagus from 1980, and Metamorphosis from 1990.
They're all
Metam
absurd.
They're all absurd, exactly. And those aren't all the actual titles either, so
No.
we'll go with those.
Yeah, one was
Um,
kidnapped, right?
Kidnapped was how it was, yeah, on Tubi. So I apologize to folks at home that I put online that it was on Tubi, but I didn't realize it was under the name Kidnapped until I actually sat down and watched it.
It's
But
okay.
as
George Eastman isn't even his name, so we're good.
right, well, I
Yeah.
was going to talk about him for a little bit
Yeah,
here.
please do.
But aside from tonight's movies, he was also in 2020 Texas Gladiators from 83, Hands of Steel from 86, which I watched the first half of today. Excuse me, and Warriors of the Wasteland from 83. And that's among many, many others that he's done. He was born Luigi Montefiore in 1942 in Genoa, Italy, and was an advertising artist, for advertising agencies until he moved to Rome in 66. His friends encouraged him encouraged him to become an actor because he was so good looking. And he was he was in a lot of spaghetti westerns and he was supposed to be in a Franco Nero film. But apparently, according to what I read online, anyways, take it with a grain of salt. He was so tall, he made Franco Nero look tiny, and they passed on him. So
He's 6 foot.
Sam,
He's 6'9".
yeah,
So
six foot
he's a
nine.
yeah. He's a big dude. Yeah, yeah.
Well, and in these movies, they kept shooting him from an up angle to make him look bigger. And I'm telling my wife, I'm like, look at honey, that shot from an up angle because I know what an up angle is, and it makes you look really big. And he really was that tall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
still alive too. He's 80 years old, 83
Wow.
this year. Yeah.
Wow.
And still very cantankerous. If you ever hear him get interviewed, he pretty much says everything he was in was crap. He mostly did them to make money for gambling. He referred to Joe D'Amato, one of the directors he worked with probably most often, as an untalented hack who never knew how to take a single good shot with his camera. How much of that is his sense of humor and how much of it's him? I think a lot of it is his sense of humor. But
yeah.
he's one of my favorites, and he shows up in so much stuff. I mean, he's even in the 1972's The Call of the Wild.
Yes.
He fights Charlton Heston, and then he's in King David. He plays Goliath, and he fights Richard Gere.
Yep.
Yeah. So like he got into some American movies. There's a very famous poker movie that there were 3 of, a comedy. Like in Italy, they have like Christmas comedies that come out. So when families are home together, they go to the movies, and he was in like 3 of those. Which is weird because like I know in this country we know him mostly as like from the Grim Reaper, aka Anthropophagus, and we know him from Absurd. I know him from Absurd. That's probably my favorite of his movies. And to think of him being a comedic actor sometimes is a little challenging for us, maybe after seeing him in so many really grisly movies.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, all right. So, why don't we start getting into the films? And Owen, just to let you know, and let the folks at home who are maybe new to Fright Lounge, what we're going to do is I'm going to read a synopsis, and then I'm going to ask everyone's first impression when they first saw the film. What'd you first think of it? Even if you just saw it this morning or last night, whatever. And then we'll get into the meat of it. We'll get into the plot and the actors and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, Rabid Dogs from 1974, and as Sam mentioned, it was also named Kidnapped in America. So the synopsis is as followed. Following a bungled robbery, 3 violent criminals take a young woman, a middle-aged man, and a child hostage and force them to drive them outside Rome to help them make a clean escape. Now, I know the movie's 40 years old, and we tend to spoil these movies because they are 40, 50, 60 years old, but I'm going to say with this one, I think that we should maybe keep the twist a secret because the movie's so awesome, and then you get to that twist at the end, and I think the folks at home should watch this. Do you guys agree?
We don't have to talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very small thing ultimately anyway. So yeah. Mum's the word.
Mom's the word. So, Bill, first impressions. What did you think of this movie?
This movie's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I only watched it because Sam was really into it. I love Bava, and anything that's Mario Bava is going to be great. This movie is nuts. It's sort of like Last House on the Left.
Yes.
It's very much. In fact, they took at least one of the scenes directly from Last House on the Left. So, it's interesting to see Mario Bava take on Last House on the Left because his own film, Twitch of the Death Nerve, was one of the, I think it was like contemporaneous with Last House. And it was definitely part of that whole like pushing screen violence to its extremes. And it was ripped off by Friday the 13th, yada, yada, yada. So it's interesting to see Mario Bava circling back and doing Last House on the Left, at least parts of it from it. It's a super nasty downbeat film. And I got all excited when you mentioned about Kidnapped being on Tubi because I thought, oh, it's dubbed. And it wasn't.
It was
the version I watched was subtitled. I think I only watched it maybe like a year ago. And then again, it was after Sam raved about it. I have to mention before we go any further, there aren't many people who are more influential in Sam's life than George Eastman. It has to be said.
Yeah,
that's
true.
not an exaggeration either.
No,
that's funny.
He shaped your life, basically.
Yeah, his films have shaped my life. I've seen nearly all of them, for better or worse.
That's awesome. Well, Sam, then why don't you take the floor with Rabid Dogs here?
I think Rabid Dogs didn't come out until the 90s. Anchor Bay put it out in the US, but the producer went out of business while he was making the movie. It only took 3 weeks to shoot. So almost everything was lost and it never got edited. So after Mario's death, his son, Lamberto, actually put it together and did one of the versions that shows up on the Anchor Bay. So for a long time, this was like one of the lost Bava projects. This is the next to last movie. Well, it depends on what rumor you believe, right? Because Shock would be his last movie, or is it Inferno? Because he shot a lot of Inferno for Argento because Argento was in such bad shape and was sick during it. So, but I think what's really sticks with me about this movie is we're used to Bava doing all these crazy tricks with cameras and making things so big and like, dollies and zooms into things and the colors and stuff. And this is two things that Bava never did before or since. It's a Polizioteca movie. It's a police, like a violent police, crime movie. He never really hit that genre, and he hit almost every other genre. And it's in one, for most of the movie, it's trapped within the car and inside one location and doesn't go anywhere. So I think it's really inventive in how it uses the people in the car, and it's a very tense movie. That's what I love about it. Also, I like I guess it's not an inside joke, but some of the joke of George Eastman's name. The movie's 32. That's the name for how many centimeters his penis is. I don't think it ever gets said in the movie. He said that later. He's like, yeah, that's true.
They do say it in the movie.
Do they? Okay, yeah. He said it. He said it in interviews. He goes, yeah, that's pretty close. So yeah, probably about 32. And I was like, cool.
Well, he is 6'9".
That's hilarious. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But yeah, it's a dark movie, and it's not afraid to. Everybody in this movie universally is a horrible person, and so it's kind of hard to find someone to root for. But I think that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
But that's very much like, as Bill mentioned, Twitch of the Death Nerve, Bay of Blood, or similar movies too, where there's not really anything to root for in that movie either. It's just like a pornography of violence, as people have said. But that's what I like about that too. So it's interesting that Bava would experiment. Known for being a pretty moral man, but in his movies, he would kind of have, this isn't the traditional structure of films. And it's also, while it does have that Last House on the Left scene, like Bill mentioned, like a lot of Italian movies of this era, it's not really ripping off anything else. It's kind of its own thing, which is a rarity when it comes to mid-70s Italian genre cinema. So
yeah, and especially when you come to the lighting. I mean, if everyone looks at Bill's camera, Are we all on? Can everyone see
Yeah.
all of us? Okay,
Yeah,
good. All
Yep.
right.
yeah.
I always screw that up. So, but look at that's Bava lighting right there.
Yeah.
We always say,
Yeah.
Bill, you got awesome Bava lighting, and he
Yeah.
didn't do that in this movie. So, Owen, what did you think? Was this the first time viewing for you for Rabid Dogs?
Yes, it was. Um, it was actually my favorite of probably all the movies I watched this week. Um, it was I could really pick up on the foreign aspect of like the way they just made movies back then. It brought me back to like maybe watching like a Pink Panther movie or something like that. Just the style of the camera angles and the backdrop. But like he said, the tension was palatable in the car.
Yeah.
Um, he did a really good job at that. The Yeah, it's just like he said, nobody was really someone you would root for, except maybe the child. But everyone in that car, was not a great person.
Well, the chick was
Uh,
all right, right? I
Maria,
didn't have an
she was
issue
all
with
right.
her.
I didn't think it was actually that violent. Like there were what, three or four, those stabbings, but that was about it, especially compared to the other ones, obviously.
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was more the brutality of it that was
Yes.
shocking, is because then they did depict these things on camera too, like with the stabbing, like you said, but also just like with George, or not George, the guy Blade, he
Mhm.
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
threatening to like kill the little kid who's sleeping in this
right.
medically induced coma. I really didn't understand that part about like why the kid. Of course, we're not going to say about the ending, but it's really kind of weird how the kid ended up there in the first place. But
Yeah.
that was pretty brutal, threatening to murder, and you really believe that he would have done it too,
Right.
because
That's
these
the thing.
characters
Yeah.
were so deranged.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the other thing that's interesting about this movie is that Al Letteri was originally supposed to be the lead in it. He's from the movie The Getaway, and
Oh,
uh,
okay.
and he was so drunk that they just couldn't even get him to show up, which is saying something for Italian film if you've seen some of them. And so he was replaced after 3 days, and his replacement, Riccardo Cucciolina, doesn't speak any English, which doesn't really matter. These movies are all shot with no sound.
No sound. Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody's dubbed. Even the Italian versions are dubbed, which I always find amazing. So it's the cast had to kind of get ready. So when he basically came into the movie, 3 days after everybody else. So I wonder how much of that led to some method acting of feeling like the odd man out in the car too. So that may have helped out in some of the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, like this was a first viewing for me, although I think I've seen this, or at least I think I started it maybe a long time ago,
Mm-hmm.
because the first quarter of the film was familiar to me, but I didn't remember the rest of it. But I always confuse it too, this title with Paul Nash's Crimson,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a similar premise. It's a botched, robbery, except he needs a brain transplant and that. So
A
but I
brain
love this movie.
transplant.
Yeah. Oh, you've never seen that? Oh, well, we may have to cover
No, I
that.
haven't seen that one.
That's a good one. I mean, all Paul Nash's films in my book are good, but I love this movie. Yeah, a lot of it was harsh, especially there was that one scene, Bill, like you mentioned, that was sort of reminiscent of Last House on the Left.
Forced
Um,
urination.
yes, yeah. And this is one of those movies that it, like you said, Bill, you pretty much came out and said it without saying it. It's batshit crazy from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And the tension, it just grabs you from the beginning. It does not let you go until till the credits literally start rolling.
Well,
Um,
I have to say too that it's also goofy. There's something really goofy about it too that takes you out of it a little bit, because the dialogue is just so European. It's
yeah,
like
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
attention
Yeah.
is very different. The attention of the words is very different in a European film than an American film. Like they're focusing on their idea of being really nasty is very different than an American version of that. So it was a little you stilted. I wouldn't say stilted, but it just took you out of it a little bit, which was very welcome in a movie as grim as this.
oh yeah, yeah, and it's interesting too because the whole thing is like Sam said, it's you're pretty much for most of the movie you're in this car trapped with these poor people, and it's just that whole thing. I was like creeped out from beginning to end through this movie,
Right.
and I really love that aspect of it.
If this was made today, they would make such a big deal about all the cameras, how they put them in the car, and all the technical aspects of it. And
Yeah.
I know so much of this was just Baba like stuck in the back seat, his cameraman. They're like buried in there shooting it. It was like shot as like low tech as you can get, and you know, there wasn't like I really think someone was really driving the car. I don't think it was on a trailer like how they shoot most cars now. Like you can see real backgrounds going around. This wasn't like a green screen thing. So like yeah, the budget's super tight, and you know, 3 weeks to shoot all of this, especially with all of the probably somewhat complicated setups within the car. But Italian crews are used to doing, you know, in America, if they get, you know, 3 or 4 good setups a day, they're like, cool. That's why movies take so long to shoot. Over there, they're like, just keep moving, like no matter what. And also, if we get 2 takes, maybe 2 takes is a luxury. So let's keep going. So it's interesting too, because for some weird, I know Baba made a lot of modern movies, like, you know, Danger Diabolic is set in modern times, Bay of Blood is, but I never think of him as a modern director, maybe because I like Kill Baby Kill and Black Sunday and Black Sabbath so much. I think of those as like very much like, you know, trapped in this weird past. And it's like, so seeing him make a movie of in the 70s, especially in the genre of these like Days of Lead movies, is really cool to me. And it's like kind of, and it was neat getting this movie when it came out, because it's like, oh, I've seen everything else. Like it's now like there's this hidden one. I dream of this from directors where there's like, you know, he was working on another science fiction movie before he died, potentially even a Star Crash sequel with Cozy. And I would have been like, yeah, I would have lost my mind. He was also contacted to do Flash Gordon. He's like, I'm never working with Dino De Laurentiis again after
oh, bummer.
Yeah,
what
I know.
Could have been.
But if you look at Flash Gordon, so much of the backgrounds and so much of the looks of stuff are very Planet of the Vampires, which is another great movie.
Yeah,
that movie is amazing. That and Hercules in the Haunted World are both incredible because they have no sets. Like, you know what I mean? Like they have no budget, and it's like for Planet of the Vampires, he had 2 rocks and fog. That's what he said. He just kept moving them around, and you would never know that if you see the movie. Like this movie costs a lot of money. No, it costs absolutely nothing. Same as Hercules in the Haunted World looks like that too. It's just great lighting and knowing where to put the camera. His father was a cameraman. There's so many things in his movies where you're like, oh wow, how much did that dolly cost? That's just a seesaw, or that's just him on a kid's wagon. So like all these things are very. They're the mechanics of filmmaking. Like you said, the lighting that Bill has, you know, we call that Bob lighting, but he is the guy that invented that. I think almost everything we see in Italian cinema comes from him, even to the point as influential as Argento is. Argento's taken a lot of Baba's stuff, and he used Baba on Argento, and he had his son as an AD on a lot of movies. Like there's a definite respect for him. So, and that comes over to our country, because that's what blows my mind. It's like so many of Baba's movies played from AIP here. Yeah. And he was if not his name, his movies were well known in America, and even like Baron Blood was a big success here too. And these are all like perfect movies. Bill and I always joke, it's like, well, what's your favorite Baba movie? And it's like, well, it's right now it's this one, but you know, it's usually Danger Diabolic because that movie's great.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, but it could be Baron Blood too at different times too. But whatever one I'm currently watching, Baron Blood's just so wild. So like, I really like that one, and also I know it's set in modern times, but not. It's also
not really. The sets are all like, you know, Transylvania. So
it's
really
trapped fun. It's trapped in this fake tourist town of the past. Like I love that.
That's funny. So we talked about George Eastman, and I forgot I was going to share a couple pictures of him. So right there, let me know if you can see this one. Did it come up? This is George Eastman. Oh, wait. That's the wrong George Eastman. That's the guy who invented Eastman Kodak.
That's right.
That's the wrong George Eastman. Because when I went to look up the damn movies on the newspapers, it was like, I kept getting this guy. No, this is actually George Eastman. Let me zoom this down a little.
There he is.
There we go.
And it was so fun. I think by the end of watching these movies, even my wife knew who George Eastman was. Because I kept going, oh my God, look, it's George Eastman. Oh my God, it's George Eastman. Oh my God.
I love that he got into movies for being good looking. In almost every one of these movies, he's playing an absolute lunatic. Like especially Anthropophagus. Like
they ugly him up real good.
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh man. So I'm gonna stop that share and I'm gonna go to the newspaper ads that we found or that I found. And
For
I'm gonna have
Rabid Dogs?
oh, you know what? I don't have any for Rabid Dogs. So I
Yeah,
guess
I
oh
didn't
wait,
play it.
I think I had one thing for Rabid Dogs. Let me see if I can find that. Hold on. Newspaper Rabid Dogs. I had one. What is this one? This was on that same day, that same time of year when it came out, and it was Bava, but it came up with these movies. Can you survive this orgy of the living dead? Am I not sharing it? I'm not sharing it, am
No.
I? All right, hold
No.
on.
I know what you're gonna show though.
Yeah, I do
The
that all
orgy
the
of the living
time.
dead.
Good Lord, why do I do that all the time? I'm like literally sitting here talking about it, and you guys
There we
can't see
go.
it.
Aw, yes.
See,
A
they say
triple.
Mario Bava's Curse of the Living Dead, which is
Yep.
Mhm.
Kill Baby Kill.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Operation Fear. That's a great title for it. It makes it
Yeah,
seem like it's a spy movie. It's
I know.
completely not.
This
Uh,
creaky little German
yeah.
village.
And also a movie that how many people ripped off so much stuff of the red ball and all that. It's been ripped off. The Ghost Girl. There's so many shots in it. Well, actually, the Ghost Girl's ripped off in Passion of the Christ. Was the little girl coming up to the cross,
Oh
which
yeah.
Scorsese completely admits because Bob was a
Yeah.
big influence on him,
That's right.
which is pretty awesome. I forgot another George Eastman movie that played in the U.S. is Satyricon, the Fellini movie. He plays the Minotaur in it.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
Who better to play a Minotaur?
Right.
I guess. But yeah, he's in a lot of stuff people recognize. I love that he's in. You mentioned one of my favorites earlier too. Hands of Steel.
Yes.
I love that that movie is an arm wrestling movie only because when Martino got to America, they were in the same hotel as the crew from Over the Top. And he was like, "Oh, every movie in America is going to be arm wrestling this summer. We got to put an arm wrestling scene in our movie."
You know,
Um,
I wondered that
yeah,
because it
that's
looked
why
like
it's in it.
it was a Terminator ripoff, yet they're doing the arm wrestling. I'm like, wait a minute, this is an over the top ripoff.
My two favorite things about that movie is one, the good guy's name is Paco Cornac, which is a great name for a good guy. And at the end, it says the age of the cyborg has begun in type
Right.
on the screen. Like, what? Okay.
What?
Like, it's also got poster art that was ripped off at least 10 times because it's great poster art. Like, and also, like, all the best Italian movies, nothing in the poster art shows up in the movie.
That's
Like, it's just like,
hilarious.
it's a good suggestion of what you could see, but no, you're gonna get like
you're
arm
not gonna
wrestling.
see it. Yeah.
Yeah, arm wrestling with scorpions doesn't show up in the poster art. Just this like awesome looking dude with a laser gun. And you're like, yeah, Terminator. Like if the artwork for Shocking Dark, aka Terminator 2,
Terminator 2.
does not hint at you think it's gonna be totally be a Terminator movie. It's not gonna be aliens in the sewers and some weird time travel. But that's how Italian movies get you. They're great. They're the best. Don't
It's
like
more of an Aliens ripoff than
it,
Terminator 2.
the last 10 minutes of it, I'm like, why is there a time machine? Oh, this is Terminator. I totally forgot it was a Terminator ripoff. And so much of it's also aliens too, but instead on the budget, they had to wear roller hockey uniforms. Like they have like a lot of rollerblade costumes. And that's what it's all about. I think that's what I like. And also that Guerra is so super anti-Italian in that movie. It says some incredibly anti-Italian racist stuff. Like I know audiences probably hated her in that. She's like, I got a bunch of greasy laps on my ship. It's like,
That's
what are you doing?
hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty great. It's not great. It also has a lot of people being thrown from high distances. So it's a good. I'm obsessed now with dummy drop movies.
Oh my
Where like
god, yeah.
where a dummy
So the
gets thrown.
dummy.
I was just talking with a bunch of people on the Unsung Horrors board about the other day of like we should really do a dummy drop Olympics, not Olympics, Academy Awards,
Panico.
to nominate the best. And the best to me, the gold standard is Fulci's Don't Torture a Duckling because that priest at the end is the ultimate dummy. Because like we talked about on the show when you were on, like the camera zooms in and you're like, this is obviously a wood, but this is not a person. Like now first time I saw it, I hated it. I'm like, we've broken reality and this isn't a human being. We're supposed to think it is. What's going on? Now I love it. Like it makes the movie for
That's
me.
funny.
And then we saw a great one last week in Nightmare City.
Right,
That
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
yeah, that's a high tech like big one. It's like we're gonna dump one out of a helicopter onto a
She
roller coaster.
she bounced off the roller coaster a couple of times and she never broke her
The
scream.
body goes
No,
whoopang, whoopang, whoopang as you're watching
and
it
you
go
can't
down.
do that with a stuntman. You need the Italian industry is like, we got this dummy. And I always think like, how many dummies one, how many times did they recycle bats? Like, I'm sure those bats, Bill, that show up in what do you call it?
Like Universal or Hammer films.
No, the other ones, the other Fulci movie that we love.
Oh.
The with Edwidge Fenwick and her
Oh,
breakdown
yes.
movie. What is that?
Or Flinda Balkan.
Lizard in a woman's skin.
Lizard in a woman's skin.
Lizard in a woman's skin.
Those bats that are on the American poster only, and like early in the movie for 10 seconds. I'm sure those
It's like a
bats,
bat movie.
they've recycled those bats for about 30 other movies. And
That's
the same way, I'm
hilarious.
like, I'm sure this, knowing that how their budget is, they're like, you know what, we should save this dummy. And those same dummies were probably in like 50 movies. I'd like to just, IMDb will not, this is the important shit that IMDb should be telling me.
That's
I
funny.
don't want to know about the budget. I want to know
List the
what
dummy and the
drops
cast
in.
credits, please.
I can't find. I found a Hands of Steel ad. It's somewhere on my computer, but I had this
Oh.
one too. Was also similar. If you can see it, let me know if you can see it. It's a Terminator 2
yeah.
flesh
I had it.
regenerator.
I had it. You put a little skeleton in there and you just filled them
Yeah.
up with Play-Doh. I have a big
What was
effect.
that?
I love the Kenner movie tie-in dolls that they didn't have the rights to get the faces of people. So they
Right.
just like it's just like an Italian toy. It's like it kind of looks like a Terminator. And like they had the rights to the endoskeleton, but not to Arnold, not to Eddie Furlong.
Right.
And of course they weren't going to make a Sarah Connor. They didn't make girl figures back then.
Yeah. Because they would
there's
look like
even-
the boy figures.
Yeah. And then when they did the RoboCop toys, which are the same scale and size, there's like they made a bunch of new bad guys for RoboCop because they like everybody, of course, because everybody died in the first one.
Right.
But they just who else do you need? Like a 209 and RoboCop. But they made all these other ones like Pyro, and they're kind of like GI Joe bad guys, but in the RoboCop universe. And you put caps into their back, and you could like move your thumb on it, and it would fire caps, and they smelled all the time like smoke. But
That's funny.
they also did Aliens figures too. I'm sure Bill's seen those where they're like
Yeah.
they're like, what we should make Bishop, but Bishop looks like the biggest badass you've ever seen. He has like 50 guns on him, and he's like, oh, this isn't Bishop. Like everybody from Alien that got killed got recreated for the movies. They all came
Right,
like,
right.
they're okay now. Vasquez is okay now. Kids,
Right.
Vasquez.
yeah, she's fine, and like everybody's fine. And they had to make a Ripley figure for that one though. So
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
was the one time Kenner was like, yeah, and she looks very mannish. She is like,
Yeah.
I know it did. Well, they would have had to pay the shit out of Sigourney Weaver to make it her face on it.
Right.
So
yeah, they're like, yeah, if you don't give us the rights to your face, we're gonna make you look like a dog boy. We're gonna like not even try. And that's what it looks like. It's like, roar. It's like the worst. But I bought it. Of course I bought it. And they made like
Yes.
I love that they made Aliens for, if we go by the logic that the face hugger turns whoever it goes into a different one. They made everything. They made like a cat, a dog, an elephant.
Oh yeah. I have
like,
a gorilla one somewhere.
Oh, the gorilla one's awesome. Yeah.
That's funny.
And then they like integrated Predator into the line. I'm like, oh man, now if only they bring. So of course, I would like to say as a kid, but I was probably like 17 or 18, right? I had all these, and I was like, oh, I have like my little universe of these. My mom's like, are you gonna like leave the house to maybe date? No, I have all these Terminator dolls. I'm like pumping them full of Play-Doh and making new Predators and with my lab.
I'm in my lab, Ma. Leave me
Yeah.
alone.
I'm making Predators.
you remember that thing called the Mighty Men and Monster Makers kit?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
So
had
there's-
like there was a head, a torso, and legs for different characters, and you would mix them up.
Right.
That thing was awesome.
Do you know who did the art for that?
Who?
Dave Stevens, the guy who created
Really?
Rocketeer. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is crazy. Like he got paid, I think he got paid like $70 for it, he said. He's like,
God.
they were like, can you just give us like 5 drawings of superheroes, not knowing what they were for? Toby asked him, and then he said, oh, I went to the store, and he's like, oh, they're selling my art in this toy.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But that was one of his
That's
super early jobs because he was a Disney animator at the time.
So we got some comments on Facebook. I want to mention here. A fan named Paul wrote the new Barbarians played quite a bit on cable, which yes it did. Zombie Holocaust Dummy might be the best. Bill, what was the one that we just talked about last month on Fright Lounge where the priest dummy was falling off the cliff and he hit every rock on the way down?
That's what the one Sam was talking about.
Yeah.
Don't torture a duckling.
Don't torture a
No,
duckling,
Torture
yeah.
Duckling, yes.
And then
yeah, all right,
Fulci
good.
did it again a couple years later in The Psychic.
Yeah.
Right,
A different
right.
character fell off of a cliff and had their face ripped off.
I
on the
saw
way
that in the
down.
theater though, Bill. So seeing it on a big screen and being a couple rows away from it, like really hammers home how much of a fucking dummy this is. And I love it. I'm not saying anything bad about it.
Oh, never, never.
I
You
don't want
know,
CGI. I want dummies being thrown off roller coasters. That's what I don't know
Yeah.
why we advanced any further than that. I think it was
right.
fine.
We don't need anything more than that.
No, I like the visceral thrill of dummies being thrown off high things, and like, yeah, of course,
Oh my God. So of the bad guys, I liked the leader guy.
Mhm.
He was pretty cool, except there was every so often he was like he wasn't reining in Eastman, and it was like
Yeah,
I'm like, dude, seriously, you're letting him do that? You yell at him all through the
Yep.
whole movie, and then finally he shoots him in the head. You know, I was like,
yeah.
thank you.
This reminds me a lot of Reservoir Dogs too, where it's like this
Yes.
gang that is barely, not just because of the title, dogs being in it, but which probably is where they got it from, like retroactively, where we should call it
Yeah.
Rabid Dogs. But I like the fact it's like no matter what you plan with the gang, sometimes it's good to have someone like 32, but also when you have to hang out with them all the time and you have to, this group should not be stuck on this getaway. They should have all gone their separate ways and not have to deal with him. But unfortunately, here we are stuck in this car.
Well, he's crying over him like he's his friend.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what kind of relationship do you have with somebody like 32? Like
Right.
he's a psycho, a literal psycho, and you're gonna have feelings for this person. And like, I don't know. It was
Exactly.
a really weird moment.
I think that they were maybe closer than friends. That's what I took away from it.
I felt the same thing. I was like,
Hmm.
these guys, who else is gonna be with them if it's not, forced?
Yeah, and they
They
were
were
also
probably
probably in jail together, and they built this like bond.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I built
Hmm.
like this head canon of who these characters were. I
It could have
probably
been
thought about it.
sexless. It was
Yeah,
a sexless relationship.
Platonic is the word I
yeah,
think you're looking
No,
for.
not platonic. There
Oh,
was love,
oh,
but there
yeah,
was no sex. It was
yeah.
just
It was just like a deep relationship.
And then
Yeah.
that chick like just insinuates herself into the car, which was crazy. And you're
Yeah.
thinking, we are thinking the whole time, oh my God, what are you doing? You're gonna get killed.
Yeah.
I thought she was like an undercover cop or something,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
that was
Oh,
gonna
that's
be like
cool.
a twist.
I never thought
That
of
would have been
that. That would
cool.
have been
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
You wrote a better script than they did.
And I liked how they showed the toll booth worker. They did a close up on the payphone, like he was gonna call, a
Yes.
suspicious vehicle in, but he never did. It never amounted to anything.
Right. Right.
You
I
know,
liked how the toll booth worker looked like Sonny from The Godfather, who
yeah, at the
had
toll
his own
booth
toll
too.
booth moment.
It's like,
Yeah.
Oh my
oh my
God.
boy, what have they done to my boy?
Oh, that's funny. So let's unless we don't have anything else to say about Rabid Dogs, let's give our final thoughts. So Owen, why don't you go first since you're new to the show?
Well, I really liked the movie. Like I said, it was very tense. It was easy to follow. Um, like it grabs you right from the beginning, and it doesn't really let up. And I like the backdrop. Um, yeah, it was one of my favorite movies, and that was actually my first introduction to Eastman. Was that
Awesome.
movie? That was the first one I watched.
Awesome.
So well, yeah, I loved it. 2 thumbs
Nice.
up.
Excellent.
Can I say that? Or is it a
Yeah, you can,
copyright
absolutely can.
infringement?
I think Dantes
Go
does a
for
1 to
it.
10 rating. So
Yeah.
so Sam, why don't you go next? Your final
Uh,
thoughts on Rabid Dogs.
I think it's great to get, like I said, another Baba movie. And while not my favorite of his films, I would have liked to have seen, had he had the budget and to do a full-on Please Ateca movie. I think that would have been really cool.
Yeah.
It's funny when you read interviews with him, he was so down on himself. He's like, I never really tried that hard, and I never went to America, and I never did these things. Like, meanwhile, if he only knew that, like all these years later, of like the worshipful tone that film jerks like me talk about him in, hopefully he would feel a little better. I don't know, but he's just always like, yeah, I was just trying to find the next movie to make, and it's like, yeah, but you were also an artist. Like you also did some really amazing things. So that's what's cool about this is you appreciate him trying something different. It's like a new canvas for him. So I would have liked to seen him try this genre again. But He only made Shock and then assisted on Inferno, and then he died in 1980.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it's funny because at some point I'd love to cover a few Polizio Techie films that you mentioned. I did over on Then Is Now podcast. We did Live Like a Cop, Die Like a Man.
that was the one I was going to suggest. That movie's
Oh,
crazy.
so good, so
It's
good. That is one of my
two-
favorite movies.
Also, two guys that totally love each other. The two main characters of that movie are in
It's
love
a
with each
common
other.
theme.
It is, and like I like that
Really?
they.
See, now I didn't get that out of it, but
Oh,
okay.
they're just best friends. But I like that they practice being cops by shooting at each other and doing
Yes.
tumbles over the bullets. Like and like they fuck up everything they touch. It's great.
Yeah,
Yeah. I love that genre just because like at some point it's like it takes all of the Italian genres all flow out of like they call them Filonies because like they kind of like flow from the same river, like veins is what
Right.
it means, and they all come from the same heart. So like those movies have the same level of violence and insanity that any Italian movie does, but they're maybe a little more realistic. And also they're really based on what was going on in the world at that time. Because up until like 1980, like Italy was a crazy place with, kidnappings and bombings and assassinations. And it's like those films totally reflect it. So I'd like to see what else would happen.
Yeah. And folks, for those who don't know, and Sam, you pretty much described it. Polizio Techie films are like they're police dramas in the 70s, but they're like ratcheted up to 11. They're ultra violent, I should say. A lot of them are vigilante films. They're sort of, I think, a lot of them may have taken their cue from Dirty Harry, where they're
100%,
yeah,
Yeah.
they're cops who are like, wait a minute, this isn't right. Boom, you're dead.
Yeah.
There's no argument.
Also, I know that these movies proved yet again that my movie politics are different than my real life. Like movie politics are like shoot everybody, kill everything, throw grenades at people. That's like kind of like where I'm at. And also, The Godfather's big in these too because they had to be like, I can't believe that these fucking Americans made a better criminal movie about the mafia than us. Like we're gonna outdo them and we're gonna try as many times as we can. And there's some that get really close.
Massacre Mafia Style is one of my favorites.
Oh, I love that. I love that movie. Cauldron of Death, it's coming out from Cauldron Films, aka Riccio the Mad Machine. That's a pretty good one too. It's also got some.
That.
Oh, Bill! Oh my God, you're gonna love it. It's got literally a cauldron that they boil criminals in. It's
any movie where people get dissolved in acid is and that's something I gotta see.
And Barbara Boucher's in it too. And she's great. I like in the Eurocrime movie.
I'm there.
Felix Silva talks about her in the Eurocrime doc where he's like, she scared the shit out of me. So there's one movie where he had to punch her and she's like, if you don't hit me like a man, I'm gonna kill you. And he's like, she was crazy. and like she's like one of those beautiful women ever. He's like, she is the only woman that really did scare me. She also like went out of her way to fuck with Yul Brynner when they made Death Warrant together. Because Yul Brynner had like he was like really shitty to the crew, I guess at one point. So she was like, she found out that he had this superstition about flowers. So she and the crew would get flowers delivered every day to upset him. and he
That's amazing.
Yeah, like dozens and dozens of carnations would come for him. And like she paid for all of it, which I think is hilarious. So I love her. It's crazy that she is like literally, I think one of the best looking actresses ever. And meanwhile, like she's in these like really tough roles where she's always getting abused and thrown around and stuff. And speaking of Don't Torture Duckman, she's the best part of that movie. She's it's a great movie, but she's the best part of it. So
that's awesome. So I apologize, folks. I have a heater on here. I'll go and plug it in a second. But Bill, why don't you give us your final thoughts on Rabid Dogs from 1974?
I can't hear your heater. So
okay, good. All right, good.
I don't think you have to worry about it.
Okay.
Sam's heater is way louder than yours.
Yeah. That's gonna be our next shirt. Can you hear my heater? It sounds vaguely sexual, but it's not. But
we'll let them think whatever they want to
think.
think.
I know. I could hear Sam's heater all night. What was that, Roger's heater? Anyway,
we'll never know.
We'll never know.
So
Owen's
Bill,
heater is brand new.
Owen's brand new. Yeah, you can't hear nothing.
The silent heater. All right, so Bill, give us your final thoughts on Rabid Dogs.
It was great. It was one of the, one of the best four films that were the best out of the four films that we were covering on this show. I really liked it. It's nasty. It's claustrophobic. It's everything that we've already said. I don't think I can add anything else.
Nice,
Thumbs
nice.
up.
I agree.
Thumbs
I
up.
agree. I agree with everyone. I highly recommend it. I think folks should watch it. It's a great thriller. It's uncomfortable at many points, so I will warn you if you've got a squeamish stomach, then what the hell are you doing watching the show to begin with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's the lightest of the four movies that you'll be
right.
showing tonight. Like I'm watching
But
Absurd in the background right now. I'm like,
oh
yeah.
geez. Yeah. So it's got an awesome twist. That's all I'll say about the
Yeah.
movie. And
Yeah.
I want you guys, if you guys watch this movie, come back to us, come back to the Fright Lounge,
Mhm.
page on Facebook and tell us what you thought of this movie after the fact if you haven't seen it yet. Love to know. All right, so next up, we're going to talk about Anthropophagus from 1980, also known as The Zombie's Rage, also known as Anthropophagus the Beast, and The Grim Reaper, which we'll find out. We'll see some of the ads for that. So the synopsis is a group of friends and a hitchhiker become stranded on a tourist island where they find everyone seems to have disappeared. As they look for a clue as to what happened to the townsfolk, they're stalked by a mysterious and brutal killer. So, first impressions. I want to go first with this one because I loved this movie. I think this was my favorite of the four that we talked about tonight. We're going to talk about tonight. It's one of those movies. First of all, I've always known the title, and I've never known anything about it. I've never actually watched it until we watched it for the show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
All right.
Mm.
so I knew nothing about it. I used to confuse it with Equinox. I'm not sure why. Um, I did completely different movies, but it was something about maybe the time frame when it came out or whatever. There was just something that in my brain anyways, Anthropophagus and Equinox, maybe because I didn't actually look up what Anthropophagus meant until I watched it this time around. Um, but this viewing now, this movie scared the crap out of me. My
Yeah.
wife and I were watching it, and she's laughing through it, and I've got the cover, the blanket, we're on the couch, and I'm like this, terrified through the whole thing, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was well directed. It ticked off all the boxes for me. It had that 70s feel, of course. I love the film quality. The film grain was very 70s. I love the dubbing. There was a moment in the middle of the film where I got up to put some more logs in our fireplace and I'm hearing them talking, and it was that dubbed quality as if I was walking to the snack bar at the drive-in theater.
Oh.
And this was like one of the movies that this and Absurd I wished I had seen at the drive-in Monsterama in Pennsylvania because that would have been awesome. And I just love everything about this movie. So that's my take on it. I highly recommend it. So Bill, why don't you go next? First impressions. And you must have seen this a long time ago, huh?
Yeah, I did. I can't remember where I first saw it. I rented it uh, on VHS many moons ago. I read about it a lot in Fangoria and Famous Monsters before it came out. And of course, this, as far as I remember, it did not show on HBO because that was my last chance to see all this stuff when it was kind of new. You had to wait about a year for it to come out on HBO. And then I could go to my dad's on the weekend and watch whatever R-rated movies I wanted there. So the Grim Reaper never made it, I don't think, though. And or if it did, I didn't remember. I really dig this movie. I first saw it obviously in the 80s, and I guess I kind of just sort of wrote it off. I wasn't really into it because, as you probably know, the American version of this movie is seriously edited. There's a lot of stuff that's cut out of it, including the one set piece in the film. I don't know who wants to mention it first, but I'm not going to shark. I'll let Sam talk about this part. But yeah, it's really, this is an interesting thing too, because the first version I saw was the Grim Reaper. Okay, that's the American cut. It has a totally different soundtrack, and it uses a bunch of library music by Jerry Goldsmith.
Oh wow.
And I hate the soundtrack for the original one. I think it totally ruins the movie. It takes me out of the movie. It's just annoying. Normally, I love weird electronic soundtracks. I love synth stuff. I do not love the soundtrack for the Grim Reaper, the original Anthropophagus, I should say. So I
Interesting.
prefer the Grim Reaper version. I think it works better. that way, and it doesn't really need all the graphic violence in it either. I don't think anything was all that spectacular out of the gore shots in this movie. Even the most notorious scene in this movie really looked very fake. So thank God, because if it looked real, that would have been seriously disturbing. But yeah, I dig the Grim Reaper.
That's funny. All right, Sam, we're going to hold on to you for a second. Well, we're going to jump over to Owen. Owen, why don't you give us your first impressions? Was this a first viewing for you as well?
Yes. I that was everything I kind of thought it was gonna be. Like that is a classic slasher movie, gore, the long suspenseful shots where sometimes nothing happens. And you don't really get the jump scare, but you're kind of expecting it to come. I like the tarot cards even in the beginning, just foreshadowing. It was a ride. It's not going to win any Academy Awards, but it was like a fun ride, and it was what I expected. But yes, it really blew me out of my chair. We all know the scene.
Right.
That was something else. I laughed, actually. I was like, what?
Oh my God. I was horrified.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
All
good.
right, Sam, you're up. Why don't you tell us? And then, Bill had mentioned a specific set piece that you wanted to talk about.
First off, Bill knows who I'm going to mention why I love this movie. Lisa Farrow is my favorite, and of all the Farrow sisters, and she's in this, and Zombie. And I love that she's in this because, like, her family's like kind of like, or at least her sister is like Hollywood royalty, and then it's like, oh, by the way, my sister Tisa's in the Anthropophagus, aka the Grim Reaper. There's 35 cuts from the American version to the Italian version. About 9 minutes is missing out of the American version, including the scene that, excuse me, we've all alluded to, where a baby gets ripped out of someone's stomach and eaten. That's a cooked rabbit in that scene.
It looked like a football.
Yeah, yeah. But I think it's topped by the end where they hit him in the stomach with a pickaxe, and he pulls out his own intestines and eats them and just stares at the camera and eats them, which is total commitment to the role. I love this movie has like an apocalyptic feel to it. Like I love that once they get to this island, everything is bad. There's no one on this island. The tarot cards are amazing. Like I love just like and this feels we're still very early in the slasher genre. We're only like 2 years into into the craze. Maybe even less because Italy maybe got these movies a little later, but we could also argue that Italy invented the slasher. With the bad blood, but maybe a little, But I wrote Joe D'Amato, as Bill will tell you, the director. This is perhaps just as important, if not more, than George Eastman to me. Depending on what of his 100 names, I think he's got like 8 names in the credits. He made so many movies that he was just like, I'll just use one of my many names. Aristotle, Massachusetts is my favorite one right now, or Robert Yip. Those are two good Joe D'Amato names. Raftanato is another good one. I use Raftanato a lot as a fake name whenever I need to use a fake name.
Oh, that's a good one.
But I really love this movie because it's just so dark, and it's really scary, especially when I talk all the time about the scene where he reaches down and pulls that girl up and like grabs her head, and it's like, how do they not hear his theme music? And Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the music in the American cut's taken from Kingdom of the Spiders, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. It's like the same library music in that. But like the thing I wrote when I wrote about this movie a long time ago is like, I grew up during the Satanic Panic. I was in school in the late 80s, and like I had to go to special classes to talk about my Satanism because I always walked around with Fangoria and like heavy metal shirts on, and I would always have to go to these classes. And a lot of times when people would watch the movies that I liked, they'd be like, oh, this really wasn't that bad. This is the movie they thought that I was watching. Like, and both this and Absurd are the movies that people were worried about. Yep. They're both video nasties.
Yes.
And when people think about, oh, we have to protect the children, these are the movies they had to protect the kids from. Even in its cut form as Grim Reaper, it's still a pretty dark, brutal movie. Especially like I love that when there's those flashbacks to how he got this way, and then we like break out of this forever just in time for him again in the Italian cut to eat a baby. There's 2 new sequels to this movie that just got made in Italy in the last 2 years. They are both beyond horrible. If I hate an Italian cash-in movie, you can tell how bad it is. They're not good. Did I watch them twice, 2 or 3 times each? Of course I did. But yeah, they were, I was like hoping for more. I'm like, well, they didn't get George Eastman to be in this. They actually took footage from this and put into it. So he shows up for a second, and I was like, oh, but no. But yeah, this is I can't imagine. I know this played a ton of theaters too in the US. So I can't imagine this movie that people walked in thinking they're getting a Friday the 13th kind of movie. And I always talk about people being confronted by movies, to be confronted by this lunacy and be like, well,
Yeah.
what did I just watch? And it's like, that's a joy to me, like that people got to see this and weren't ready for it. And to just be, I was ready for it. I knew the stuff that was coming. Well, because, this is a legendary movie amongst film nerds like me now. And like, so, I was ready for it, but to not know anything about it and see it, oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah. I didn't know anything about this when I walked into it, but you mentioned Friday the 13th, and I wanted to mention that because this was 1980. And Friday the 13th, the first one was 1980, but we really don't see Jason until the second one, which was 1981. And that came out in May. And we'll talk about that when we talk about Absurd, because that was also 1981, but Friday the 13th Part 2 was in May and Absurd was in October. So I think there was something borrowed there, but this, you kind of got to figure, this may have been more influenced by Halloween.
Absurd
point.
is definitely Absurd is 100% Halloween. This is
then Friday the 13th, because Jason hadn't become established as that unstoppable killing machine until
I would say this one was also inspired by Halloween too, the Grim Reaper.
Yes.
It always blows my mind too that, like, isn't it crazy that, like, if you ask someone that doesn't know horror movies to tell you about Jason, they're like, well, he's the guy with the hockey mask. I'm like, yeah, that's 3 movies in.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are you thinking? And like, but I think that's cool though. Like, that's like, it's just like something else for us to geek out about. Yeah, there's a lot of Halloween in both these movies, but also Joe D'Amato is him. He is one of the king of the ripoffs. If there's a way to make money off a movie, he was going to do it. But also, Bill, no, I'm his biggest apologist as a director. Like, he actually can put together a good movie, an incredible cinematographer, and really good at building tension. He also, while in the new issue of Drive-In Asylum, you'll see, like, I wrote about his 1980. He did like 11 movies in 1980.
Wow.
Mainstream. He also shot like 15 adult movies in the same year, including a few that crossed over, like Erotic Nights of the Living Dead, and so he's but George Eastman's in that too. Non-sexual, yeah. But
you don't see his 32 centimeters.
No, you don't. He has sex with a girl in it, but it's simulated. But it's good. It's like a Black Paradise, a Paradiso Blue. There's another one that he did that's really dark too. Like, all these movies are like, Joe D'Amato does this in a lot of his adult, where it's like, I don't think I'm supposed to be turned on by this. Obviously, Emmanuel and the Cannibals and Emmanuel in New York are the 2 big ones, where it's like,
right.
I saw Emmanuel in New York when I was a kid on Cinemax late, this Friday and Saturday night, Cinemax after dark. Yeah, Cinemax. And I was like, and I'm like 30 minutes into it, it turns from like a pleasing sex romp into a snuff movie, and you're like, what? How am I supposed to be turned on by this? And then you realize, like, Joe D'Amato does not care. Like, he's gonna like just push stuff and be weird. And as David, the owner of Seven, said, he was cheeky. He liked to just do this kind of stuff and piss people off. So that's what I like about it. This, both, I think Absurd and Anthropophagus are both great. I actually prefer Absurd just because I love. We'll get to it when we get to it. There's, especially if you're from Pittsburgh, there's a real Pittsburgh Yinzer reason to love this movie. But cool. They're both great.
Nice. So one of our fans, Jeff, mentioned he loves our New England accent. So, Owen, I think he's talking about you and me because we don't pronounce our R's.
It's got to be us in our cars.
In our cars, parking in the yard.
I work with this woman named Barb, and I always say to her, "Hey, Bob, how's your car?" I got it from you.
When I was in the Army, they used to call me National Guard. Hey, National Guard.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think I told you guys once, maybe it was on a different show, it's that the one time I finally heard my own accent, I was leaving a message for a lady and her name was Brenda. and I go, "Hey, Brenda, it's Raja." Blah blah blah, and I was like, "Oh,
That's what I sound like.
what did I say? What did I say last time, Bill? Was it? Oh, it was Dracula,
Dracula. Yeah.
Godzilla."
Prince
I
of
know I
Darkness.
talk like a goof, so I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Prince of Darkness. I don't pronounce the R's, but I add them where they don't belong. I don't know. So all right, so let's look at some of these newspaper ads. This one's actually an article with an ad, and I'll show it to you guys. I'm not going to read you the whole article. I know that upsets Bill when I do that. So
What?
no, I'm kidding.
It doesn't upset me.
So
Oh.
I took this, right? So I forget, where is this? It's oh, I don't remember what newspaper it's from, but there was someplace at their hold on. If at the Valley Drive-In Theater or at the Valley Theater, they played Revenge of the Zombies, Zombies Rage, and Astro Zombie. And they
Oh.
wrote a whole article about it. And hold your thoughts, guys, and I'll read this and then we'll go from there. So apparently what they did was basically people were watching this movie and they had a bunch of people dressed up like zombies that crawled into the theater or strolled into the theater. Um, the crowd, which was made up mostly of teenagers and a few families, did what one would expect the driving in theater crowd to do. They honked their horns and yelled insensitive things like, "You zombies are ugly."
It
And
was
then
probably true.
they got on top of the concession stand and danced to Thriller, which I think is cool. And
Yeah.
this was back then. This was back in like 81 or
85.
something. 85,
84.
okay.
Yeah.
And then they talked about it, and the writer talked about how it played Astro Zombies afterwards and whatchamacallit, Revenge of the Zombies beforehand. So go ahead. I know you guys want to chime in about this.
This reminds me of the incredible creatures that stopped living and became mixed up zombies, that they would
Yes.
send masks of Cash Flag to theaters. And that's one of my favorite things. Like, can you imagine running a theater and you get like 2 latex masks and a fake knife? And they're like, have your young 16-year-olds that work in your theater wear these and run into the theater during this part of the movie. I'm like, I'm not making my kids do that. But that's like how they sold that movie. And it's like today, people would just.
Hope they did.
Yeah. Well, it's just like all the William Castle stuff. Like, Emergo when the skeleton comes out of the audience, like kids would eventually come back and be like, I know exactly when it comes out, and I'm going to hit it with a popcorn bucket as soon as it comes out. So like, I always worry. It's like, nobody today, like, would someone try to shoot one of these zombies when they came out?
Right.
This happened to me once, though. I was at Walmart and I didn't, because I work crazy hours in advertising. So I had no idea it was Halloween. It was like back in the pre-COVID days when Walmart would be open all night. That's when I did my shopping. It was like 2:30 in the morning, and these kids were dressed like zombies. And I was like, finally, it's happened. Finally, I can use all my skills. I went and got like a garden stake and something else. I'm like, I'm going to fight my way out of this Walmart. And I'm like, oh, wait, these are just kids dressed up. So
That's funny. All right, so then our next contestant here. Oh, here we go. It's not fear that tears you apart. It's him.
He's
That
got
must be
kind of
New
like a
York.
Salvador Dali stash going on.
Yeah,
a little
He
bit.
does.
There we go.
This is New York because look, there's Amityville.
oh. Bill, how warm does that Film Ventures logo make you? It just like, I feel so good about life seeing Film Ventures logo. It's
I'm
so
at like
nice.
half mast looking at that. I got to admit.
Yeah. I was going to be polite for the show, but yeah, I'm raging right now. So.
Okay. Yeah. Next, we've got another one.
Oh,
Similar ad, but look at this.
Look at Dead and Buried in Death Ship. Holy shit. I know we're not supposed to talk about that one.
No, you can talk about it. Go right ahead. Death Ship. And in fact, what is Death Ship? That's clearly not the Treat Williams movie.
No, we just did that on the show not too long ago.
Yeah.
George Kennedy on the high seas.
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Go ahead.
George Kennedy.
No, yeah.
The Blue Knight himself.
Yeah. I love that their Killer Be Killed with Grim Reaper is an awesome junk double feature, because Killer Be Killed is a ridiculous, like almost like a James Bond karate movie with South Africans. And also there's another one, Kill and Kill Again, the sequel to it.
Yep.
But Bill knows my eyes went right to Private Lessons with Sylvia Kristel. I'm
of
like,
course,
oh, what? You could see that in public.
I know how you're thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can see that in public, and Trip with Teacher, which was probably showing its age by then, but who cares? I'll go see it again.
Yeah.
Crown International is Trip with a Teacher. So
yeah.
Could Private Lessons have been crowned too?
It
No,
could have
I
been.
don't think
No.
so.
That's a good
No.
question. Was
There's
it
like only one family friendly movie to go see at the Brantford Quad, and Carbon Copy and Blue Collar. Like every other screen, like
Right.
kids. There's like when my mom would walk me through the Spotlight 88 and put her hand over my eyes and like, don't look at that screen. And of course, as soon as she turned the corner, I was like,
Looking,
yes. Yep.
I remember being at a multi-screen drive-in with my parents as a kid, and we were watching, I don't know, a slew of Friday the 13th movies, and over on another screen was Heavy Metal, the animated
Oh.
movie. And I had my
Oh.
Walkman because they were broadcasting at the time. I just tuned over to that, and I'm like, watching the other screen.
Oh, wow. You hacked right into that, Roger.
We got to watch it on HBO when I was a kid, and literally by the second segment, my mom was like, well, it's time for you to go to bed.
That's classic. All right, and then we have another one I put together. These ones.
Look at that
Oh,
Seeds of Evil ad.
I know.
I've never seen that before.
Oh
Really?
my God.
Holy
yeah.
shit.
I love that movie, Bill. I got to tell you, and I know it's something if we show on the show, everybody's going to hate me
Oh,
for
I
picking,
know.
but I love it so much. It's a movie where, as you always say, like literally nothing happens.
Nothing happens in Seeds of Evil. It's fucking amazing. Joe D'Alessandro plays a tree.
Yeah, it's the perfect role for Joe. Little Joe is a tree.
Little Joe.
He's
Bill,
finally
how about
gets to play one.
private
I gotta
lessons
see
in the
that.
children?
And the children.
The children, huh?
What a night! It's like
That
it's
is twisted.
a movie that makes you want to have kids, and a movie that makes you not want to have kids.
Right.
All one
Mhm.
night at the Newark Twin.
But obviously, this is a re-release for Dead and Buried because it says from the creators of Alien, because Dan
Yeah.
O'Bannon wrote both of those, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it didn't have to be a reissue.
Well,
They-
Alien
Dead-
was. Oh, that's true.
Alien was 79 and Dead
That's
and
right.
Buried
Yep.
was like 82.
82, yeah. Well, this is
God,
81.
I love Seeds of Evil
So,
playing with
81,
with
yeah.
with an unnamed movie, a terrifying
Yeah.
co-hit. I don't think anybody stuck around to see the second movie, Bill. If they sat through Seeds of Evil, there, can we
Hopefully
please
they
go?
played the second movie first.
Oh my God. But that said, Bill and I would be there and we'd be like first row. We'd be like that guy that comes to the drive-in and sets up his own tent. Do you know that guy?
Yes.
People has that like solo tent.
He's like, don't talk to me. I got my solo tent.
I
and
make
I'm
a
sitting
solo
way up
tent.
front.
And I'm gonna
Oh
sit
my
as
God.
close to the front as I can so I hurt my neck. That
So-
would be us for Seeds of Evil.
I'm gonna let you guys know too. A couple of these images coming up. I kept the full page because, and
Oh.
in fact, for Owen's benefit as well, I wanted to just sort of give everyone, as well as the viewers at home, an idea of the whole picture of what was coming out on that particular day.
Oh yeah.
I just want to
Okay.
double check. We've got Mary Poppins versus softcore porn. That must have
love
been
it.
one of the previous one. Here we go. This is a cool one. The Zombies Rage.
Yeah.
They rip out your fear. There's one killer in this movie. He's not really
Yeah.
a zombie, but whatever.
Right.
Edward Montoro is about to take the entire money from Film Ventures and disappear forever. He has like another year before he disappears from the world.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Look at that. PCM International.
Oh.
That's cool.
Oh.
El Paso. All
Also,
right.
look, there's
No check
there's George Eastman's real name. Screenplay by Luigi Montefiore.
Yeah.
Adaptation by Luigi Montefiore.
And Joe D'Amato's real name.
Aristide. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
I would
that's
say
funny.
that's what, like I said, if you look at these credits, they're almost all Joe D'Amato and yeah. And George
Oh, and
Eastman.
that's something, Owen, I wanted to introduce to you, maybe that you may not know about, you may or may not. A lot of times, so these foreign films, especially back in the 70s, when they came over here, the directors and writers and oftentimes the actors had different names because they wanted to appeal to an American audience. So you
Right.
can't
Yeah.
be, Luigi Montefiore. You got to be George Eastman,
Exactly. Yeah.
And they did the same thing with the titles of films. That's why, like, this movie is also called The Zombies Rage, because they'd put a movie out and then it doesn't do well. So they wait a while and then re-release it under a different name, hoping it'll do better,
Yeah, I see. When I was looking these movies up, I saw that with like 3 of these movies all had different names at one point.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
they had some issues coming over to the States, things like that. Yeah.
It's
They had
funny.
court issues, some of them, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the only movie that played in the States that we're doing, isn't it?
I have Yeah, you're right. That played in the States. So I think the next one is Metamorphosis, but that I just have stuff from
Metamorphosis
when
went
it was on
direct to
video.
video. Yeah.
Video, yeah.
And
All right,
wildly, Shout Factory has the rights to it, which blows my mind. But
so look at this. I mean, this. Oh, and does this not remind you of the Stoneham Cinema? These would
I
have
was
all been
just,
playing there.
yep, I was just thinking that.
One
Oh
Dark
my
Night with the
God.
Oh yeah, look
boogans.
at that.
That paste up job that they did with Zombies Rage is amazing. They used
yeah,
the Rage from Silent Rage,
Oh
Yep.
yeah,
Chuck Norris, Zombie from Full Cheese Zombie, and then they just put an apostrophe S at the
it's
end.
like
Yeah.
a ransom note that makes you
Yeah.
want to come to the movies.
Don't go in the
Oh
house.
my God. And there was a
Oh.
bunch of those. I didn't include here today because I felt it was too repetitious.
You know what's great with that double feature bill with Grim
Oh.
Reaper and it's because people, if you were on a date, your date be like, "Well, I'm glad that scuzzy move is over," and you're like, "Well, get ready
Wait,
for Don't Go in the
Don't Go in the
House."
House.
yeah,
Which kind of
Because-
blows Grim Reaper out of the water with
it
how
really
brutal
does.
it
It's
is.
like
Yeah.
this movie is shocking and it's ridiculous. It's like One Dark Night and the Boogans is like kid stuff by comparison.
Right, right. Now, isn't One Dark Night? That's the one with Adam West and
Yeah.
the what's the chick? Her sister
Meg
is like
Tilly.
more Meg Tilly. Yeah. All right. I saw that with my parents.
I love the Boogans though, even though nobody really knows what a Boogans is.
Right, right.
One Dark Night was not R, by the way. It was
No.
PG.
I
was
I was
PG.
gonna ask you that. Okay, yeah. All right. That's right.
Oh.
So here we go. I just wanted to show you what was playing. You got Zombie Rage and Kill or Be Killed and Don't Go in the House. I mean, come on. Or you could go see The Last American Virgin Sugar Cookies and Hot T-shirts.
The order of those movies is so wrong because
Yeah.
by the end of Last American Virgin, everybody's gonna be so depressed they won't want to watch another movie. Like it's like the most depressing ending.
Well, Sugar Cookies is pretty brutal too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hot T-Shirts is really the only sex film in that
Yeah.
whole lineup.
Oh,
Well,
Yeah.
Last American Virgin is like,
It kind of is, but it's also the only movie that has U2 scoring an abortion scene.
Good Lord.
Also, it's Lemon
I
Popsicle. It's
know.
the same movie as Lemon Popsicle.
I bet they hate that.
Oh my god, it makes me so happy. It's
I know.
like how REM's in the Party Animal too, and like they're like, how did we get in this movie? How about Lady Chatterley's Lover playing in a legit cinema?
Doesn't that also have Adam West in it? I think it
Yeah.
does.
No, he's in Young Lady Chatterley.
Oh, Young
That's
Lady
right.
Shirley. That's right.
Yeah.
The one with
Oh.
Sybil Danning. He's opposite
Yes.
Sybil Danning in his movie.
Yes, I dated that movie in my teen years. That was my girlfriend for like a year and a half. Every time, and why didn't I tape it? Every time it was on, I'd be like, because I know I didn't tape it. Because if somebody found the tape, I would be. I was talking to someone the other day, and I'm like, oh, like Sylvia Christel and Harley McBride were really big. And I'm like, I don't know who Harley McBride is. I'm like, you've never seen Young Lady Chatterley 2? 1 or 2? Like Sybil Danning's in it, and because like I think she was like approachable, but like even as a 13-year-old kid, I'm like, there's no part of me that can handle Sybil Danning, much less a nun Sybil Danning. Like I'll be dead. Like she would kill me. Like I can't. And like I've always found her attractive, but I also realized that like I'm one and done. Like I would just be a husk afterwards. So
I have that. I have Young Lady, the one with Adam West. I have that somewhere
Yeah.
on videotape. I
Oh.
recorded off Skinamax.
oh man. I've watched it. So she plays Young Lady Chatterley plays chess,
Oops.
like strip chess with Adam West. And even as a kid, I'm
That's
like,
right. Yep.
are we about to see Batman naked? I'm like, no, we're not. Speaking of
Sadly, we never got to see Batman totally. There was no full frontal Adam West moment.
no.
No.
How
no full
about
frontal.
speaking of slashers, National Lampoon's Class Reunion playing
Yes.
up on the top.
Right up
But
there, yeah.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
That's
Yeah.
easy
Yeah.
to forget that it's a slasher spoof,
Yeah.
but it totally is.
and it like died in theaters, which is
Yeah.
weird because like you would think it feels like didn't somebody good directed that too.
That's not the same as Student Bodies, right?
No.
No,
Okay.
and it's not the same as Pandemonium, which is the
Or
other.
hysterical.
Yeah,
Hysterical was the Hudson brothers, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who directed Class Reunion. It's somebody. Is Garrett Graham's in Class Reunion?
Yes. Garrett Graham is like the biggest star in it, I think.
Gary Graham from Alien Nation.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Oh,
Garrett
wow.
Graham from Alien Nation? Is he
No,
in it?
from-
Gary Graham.
Yeah, it's directed by Michael Miller, who did Jackson County Jail, Silent Rage. He did Silent Rage the same year. Like both those movies were in
Gary Graham,
theaters.
okay.
Class Reunion and Silent Rage, 2 slashers.
Michael
Silent Rage
Miller.
Silent Rage is a secret slasher too, Bill.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
think
Like,
because Chuck Norris is in
Chuck
it, that
Norris,
it's not
yeah.
a slasher,
I
but
like they're
no,
like,
it is.
hey, Chuck can't be stopped by humans anymore. What if he fought Frankenstein? I love it. Like, I'm so here for that movie. Like, let's do it.
What was the thing I sent you guys? It was Chuck Norris. Oh no, the COVID needs to take what do you call it?
Chuck Norris
Vaccine
shot.
shots from Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can
So
tell you, as a fat kid, I wanted those Chuck Norris karate jeans so bad because I remember bringing out a copy of Black Belt and showing my mom, and I'm like, "Look, these jeans will let me kick higher." And she's like, "Honey, you're so chubby. Like they won't be able to kick above your waist anyway." And
Chubby,
okay,
you're husky. I was husky when I had to go to the
Husky. My
Husky
dad's
Boys.
nickname for me was Husky, and I thought, "Oh, my dad thinks I'm cool, and he thinks I'm like a dog."
Yeah.
And no, and like years later, he's like, "You know, I called you Husky because you were fat," and I was like, "Thanks, Dad."
So Michael Miller directed Class Reunion.
Yeah, and Silent Rage, yeah.
Yes.
And what other junk? Good stuff. Oh, let's take
So I don't know. Oh, this does have
Ooh.
Zombies Rage.
Yeah.
But this look at this lineup, huh? Evil Dead, Alone in the Dark. Oh, wait. Oh yeah, Alone in the Dark. That's the one I said with Adam West. Right, there.
No, Alone in the Dark is the
No.
one with
Jack Palance.
Jack Palance,
Oh,
Martin.
yes.
Palance. I don't know
Yeah.
how you say his last
Jack,
name.
I always say Jack
And
Palance.
Donald
what?
Pleasance.
Martin Landau.
Martin Landau.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a crazy.
Look
And
at
what
Eaten
and what's his
Alive
name
there.
from the A-Team is in it too. Murdoch from the A-Team
Yes.
is the
Yep.
doctor.
Yeah.
I
But look
see
at this.
Eaten Alive too. For
Yeah.
Legend of the Bayou.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How crazy is that? Nathan Hayes.
Is that Eaten Alive, Bill?
Yes,
Oh,
Legend
man.
of the Bayou is Eaten Alive. This was a very late reissue for Eaten
With
Alive.
Midnight.
Mhm.
Oh my God, that's a Sam double feature.
Oh
right
my
there.
God, there it is, tucked away
Yeah.
down there. Yeah,
Yeah, Pittsburgh movie.
What is that one?
It's
Midnight.
yeah. Go ahead, Bill.
No, you.
It's John
That's all
Russo, the writer of Night of the Living Dead.
Yes. Yeah. Oh,
It's
okay.
his movie. It's like a satanic mess. I drive past one of the bus stops from it all the time, and I'm like, "That's the bus stop from Midnight." It's
Oh,
good.
wow.
I really like it a lot. It's
check that out.
yeah, it's good. We showed it on the show, and then Mortuary and
Yeah.
Grim Reaper together, Bill. That's a hell of a double feature for you. I
Oh
know
my
your
God.
love for Mortuary.
Christopher and Linda Day George plus
Yep.
Bill Paxton
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. There you
and some chick that you guys probably would have liked a lot more than me.
go. Some dumb chick. And
Yeah.
then we've got this here. Okay, this is one of the ones I wanted to just kind of give you guys a little blast from the
You wanted us
past.
to go to Pelicans with you, is what you're telling us, right?
Well, yeah, we'll do that first for Hawaiian Luau
I'll
week.
go.
Yeah.
And then there you go. But look at that, Rocky 3, E.T. I mean, this is what? This is it's 82. Sorry, so it's E.T. here. Firefox.
I know exactly where Bill's
Swamp
eyes went
Thing.
in this ad.
Which Swamp Thing was 79, so this
Yeah.
must have been a reissue.
So how about Caligula and Polyester
And
playing-
polyester, yeah.
and Vice
Oh my
Squad?
god.
That's a big idea to get used to. Oh, look, there's Vice Squad.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
R.I.P.
Yeah,
Wayne
RIP.
Towser.
Yeah.
The real trick is staying alive.
A Midsummer's Night Sex comedy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Woody Allen.
That's Woody Allen, yeah.
Yeah. Six Pack with Kenny,
Oh, here we go on the
an
left
HBO
here.
movie.
I can't see because I have you guys' faces in the way,
Oh.
but we've got the One Dark Knight, Raiders, Zombies Rage again on the left.
I think that's the same ad you showed before.
Yeah, it may have been from the same paper. But then down here, you got the Thing and Poltergeist. And look at that Secret of Nim
Oh,
poster. How cool.
There's
is that?
another one
yeah.
at Loma Land.
Nicodemus.
Ooh, Cinderella 2000 playing a little late, Bill, on the left,
Oh
too.
my God.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, look at that, huh?
Oh, my God. Cheech and Chong's next movie in Conan.
Conan.
Oh, my
There's a
God. That's
double
a
feature
Sam
right there.
double feature right
Oh,
there.
I'm gonna have to go watch those two after the show.
Oh, my God. Oh,
Look at Hanky Panky with Gilda Radner and Gene Wilder.
yeah.
That's
This
crazy.
oh, man.
The
Now I'm
Thing.
sad about the world I live in. I want to live back in this world. Like,
Raiders playing at 3 different theaters.
yeah.
How about The Thing rejected at the box office in its
I
original
saw it.
release? Can you believe it?
I saw it at the box office. I cannot believe that. No, I still can't.
I wonder now why Hanky Panky has that computer font. Did you see that? It's like it's a total like this is the future font.
Oh yeah, it's like rollerball. That's
Yeah,
horrible.
yeah. In the
That's
future, there will
funny.
be roller babies and hanky panky.
Thank
That's
God.
hilarious.
Yeah, author too. Oh man, so
Author,
many of these
author.
movies I only knew from Mad Magazine because I'd be like, "Mom, big,
Yeah.
you can't watch any R-rated movies," but I could read the Mad Magazine version of them, and then later when I'd watch it, I'd be like, "This was not as good as the Mad Magazine version."
I still have Mad Magazine versions in my head of certain things.
100% altered states. 100%.
Yeah.
The Mad
Magnum
Magazine version is so much
Magnum
better.
PI is
Magnum,
Magnum
yeah,
PU.
yeah, Magnum PU.
All right, here's another one. I put these together from the same page. We got Zombies Rage with Dawn of the Dead on the left and One Dark
Bill,
Oh,
Night.
that's a shirt right there. That Dawn of the Dead one.
Yeah.
It has no soul, but it can live forever. What the hell does that even mean for Dawn of
It's
the
not
Dead?
even from. It's not for the movie, and that really looks like a Hammer cemetery. It feels or like a Spanish.
Yeah.
It's like a Spanish horror
It's
cemetery
a Paul
versus like
Nassi cemetery, yeah.
I
yeah.
love that you're promoting a movie that has one of the classic taglines of all time, and they
Yeah.
just totally trash it. And they're like, "I'm going to make up my own."
Right.
It has no soul, but it can live forever. Boom, go to press.
Right.
Yeah.
What about when there's no more room in hell? But all right. whatever.
Also, I like that they call it 12 midnight because there's like, what time is it? 24 midnight or no? Let's just put 12.
Right.
Like, sorry, that's what writers do all day.
Here's another one, which I love
Oh,
this image.
Yeah, I like the name Loma Land for a drive-in. Like that's a pretty cool
I
name.
forget where that's from. I was just pulling ads from there. Wherever that
It's
is.
El Paso.
Okay, there we
Yeah.
go.
They cut off Joe D'Amato's fake name there, Aristide,
Yeah.
Massachusetts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was probably enraged. He's like, I'm sitting here in Italy and I see this ad for the Loma Land and cut off of my name.
I picked this one. I know we had seen this image, but this was the clearest of.
Oh,
the
it's
ones.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That we talked about on the show. Like that's a hard image to print in newsprint.
Yeah.
Like with
Yeah.
all that black, like it. So that's a great print of it.
And there's this one here I put together again.
Oh,
Look at that, huh?
oh my god.
Oh, it's with Incubus. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Oh my god. No, that is like neither of those are a woman's picture, Bill. In
No.
Porterville. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's all about violation. Incubus
is.
and that
Right.
fetus
Right.
scene in Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh my god.
From 82. Yeah, look at that. I mean, Boy and His Dog, Poltergeist, Rocky 3.
Bill's in one of these movies.
Humongous Megaforce, Incubus, Zombies Rage. Bill, which one are you in?
He's in
don't
The Song
know.
Remains the Same. You were in your mother's belly.
That's
beginning.
true.
Because they shot the beginning in Pittsburgh. They show them landing in Pittsburgh, and then Bill's mom was there, and he was born like a few days later. So
I
Bill
was born, 3 days after she saw Zeppelin, so I am claiming it.
Yeah, it says real small there, featuring Bill.
That's funny.
Well,
A
Seventh
Fright
Wages.
Lounge and Drive-In Asylum double feature.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Bill,
Oh, we're gonna have to do that.
how deranged is Porky's and the Boy and His Dog together? Like,
Oh my God.
and then you throw Rocky 3 at the end of it. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, and also Boy and His Dog was like 8 years old by then.
Yeah,
Right.
well,
That was
Mark
74,
Hamill.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill was big, so they put it out again.
No,
You-
there was Don Johnson in Boy and His Dog.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That wasn't Mark Hamill.
Right.
But Don Johnson was getting ready to get big though
Yeah.
on Miami Vice.
Yeah. 'Cause
Incub-
this is what, 82? Yeah.
Humongous and Megaforce is crazy because Megaforce is totally a kid's movie. And then
I love
Humongous is,
Megaforce.
I love it. It's also one of those movies that's like when you're a kid, you're like, surely this is going to be the next Star Wars. Wrong. It's not. Like,
It can't be Star Wars, and don't call me Shirley.
yeah, exactly. That and Bucker Banzai Road, they've advertised this in enough comics. These are both going to be big movies. No, wrong. No one's going to see
Well,
it but me.
especially when you go back and look that Barry Bostwick was the main character.
Oh.
it's a goofy governor from
Against
the,
Felix Silva. Yeah, deeds, not words. That's what
Yeah.
Megaforce promised. Oh my god. And
These
Persis,
not words. I remember
what's her
that.
name? Persis Calbada's in it too from Star
that's
Trek.
right.
She has hair.
She was Ilea, the bald Delton. Yes.
That movie's super sexist too because she makes the team and then he tells her you can't be on Megaforce because the guys would be too worked up.
Right.
Like he literally tells her that, so she can't be on Megaforce because they wear these skin tight suits and they would be boned out in these skin tight suits. And what's his name from the Warriors is in it too. The leader of the Warriors. He's Cowboy.
Yes. What's his name? Look at this though. You got Black Sabbath and Blue Oyster Cult performing as Black and Blue. How cool is that?
Yeah. That's a documentary, actually. They
Oh,
shot
is it?
it played theaters.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Firefox and One Dark Night is pretty wild too. If Phil's watching this from the Tarantino podcast, Firefox is a good film movie.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So,
All right.
man,
next
I
one
love
is-
Humongous Planet. Okay.
Yes.
Um,
Again, this was just another one that had a bunch playing Zombie Rage.
If you have a choice between Empire Strikes Back or My Dinner with Andre, what are you gonna pick?
Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah,
I mean,
come on. What are you thinking?
what's Smash Palace? I don't know that one.
No, that is. Let me look that up.
Bill? Owen?
No
Anyone?
idea.
Bueller? All right. You know what? Before I change this, I'm going to look that up real quick because I got my
Yeah.
IMDb open right here.
Hmm.
Smash.
I'm surprised everything's working on your computer if you have IMDb open. It's like the biggest resource suck. Out
Oh,
of
it's on
all of
it's
the
on my
websites.
phone.
Oh, okay.
The Toy, a movie that could probably never come out today.
Oh yeah.
Right,
No.
yeah. I saw that
Yeah.
in the theater too.
I saw it in the theater too.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Smash Palace. After the breakup of his marriage, a racing car driver sets out to get back his daughter at any cost. It's with Bruno Lawrence, Anna Maria Monticelli, Greer, Robson, Kirk. Directed by Roger Donaldson.
It's a New Zealand movie.
Must be, yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Huh.
Fast Times ... We don't have space to put anything else.
Right. Why did
Best House? Did you see Best House in Texas too? They took out a whorehouse.
Oh,
It was just Best House TX.
Whoa, where is that? Get to see that now.
Under Watts Mill. Under
Yes,
the All
Best
Season
House, Texas.
Best House, Texas. I would love to call the theaters when I was a kid at this time and get the recorded message and hear what they changed the names to. They'd be
Yeah,
like,
no
at the
kidding.
Watts Mill, Best House, Texas. I'm like, what is that?
And the best little whorehouse will be seen. All right, so I included this whole page just because I don't think it had, but look at this. I mean, over here you got Amityville 3D, which, all right, it's a shitty movie, but you've also got Godzilla on Monster Island, Legend of the Bayou,
Look at that, Bill.
Mortuary. I mean, those are so many
And
good
a Christmas
ads.
Story.
Yeah, the Christmas Story.
Oh, you know what though? The La Posada is where my eyes went because they got broccoli
Yeah.
spears. And,
They got what?
broccoli spears.
Oh, I don't do broccoli.
Godzilla on Monster Island for 50 cents.
Yeah, look at that. And
Oh.
Nightmares.
Nightmares. Oh, this year's Sleeper, maybe. Is that One Night in Heaven or up there on the right, or is it just a night?
yeah,
A Night
in
in
heaven.
Yeah,
And
Is it
Deal of the
Christopher
Century. That's
Atkin?
Chevy Chase
Yeah.
movie, right? Oh yeah, Christopher Atkinson
yeah,
from
I like
Blue
the-
Lagoon, right?
yeah.
Shockma.
Shockma. And an early Eddie Murphy movie, Deal of the Century. That's his first. He's
And-
in it for like 2 seconds.
And that was Chevy Chase, right?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, Chevy Chase, Sigourney Weaver. That's right. I saw that. Gregory Hines.
yeah.
That's
I can see
William
the poster.
Friedkin made that
Yeah.
film.
Oh wow.
Adult
I
movie
remember those
entertainment.
coupon books.
Yeah,
But those,
Oh yes, the coupon
Yeah.
books.
yeah, getting those for like Christmas all the time or whatever.
That's
Mhm.
right. Yeah, the big giant thick book. Yeah.
Yeah.
oh my god.
All right. Next up, we got a bunch here. We got Creep Show.
Oh my God! Beyond the Door.
Yes,
I'm gonna
that's
faint.
why I knew you were gonna love this, Bill.
It's not the size that counts, which is the
Yeah.
sequel to Percy.
Yeah,
The
you're
movie
right.
With Elkie Summer and Vincent
Oh.
Price.
Oh wow. Oh, that's awesome.
I like it. The other one, it's like I don't know what they were doing. Like also is R rated. Like they put the rating up there, next to it. So it seems like also is the other movie. So it's like Champagne for Breakfast. Also, hey, up yours. Fuck you.
Percy was a movie about the world's first penis transplant.
Oh
Yeah.
god.
And it's not the size that count is the sequel.
Oh, that's funny. So here was another full page. I just wanted to sort of give you guys an idea of what was going on. We were sort of familiar now with what came out that year, but look at The Soldier. Now, all right, The Soldier, and maybe at the break, when we take a break, I'll pull out the VHS. This is the one with Ken Wall.
Yeah.
And I had heard years ago that the VHS tape of that is so rare that it's worth hundreds and hundreds. And I found it at a consignment shop, but when I look online now, I don't see that kind of price. But I'll dig that tape out if
Someone
I can
probably
remember.
put it out at some point. Like it's already been out, but before it comes out on DVD, especially, The
Yeah.
VHS can be really super expensive, but then someone puts it out and deflates it.
Right, right. That's true.
How about a little Beastmaster on the bottom of the screen there?
Oh yeah, there was an awesome Beastmaster poster. I didn't get it, but I just wanted to point out over here we had Tex from Disney, the Night Shift and Tron, Zombies Rage, Road Warrior, and Blade Runner, which I saw both of those in the theater.
Wow.
Blade
That's
Runner
like
is my all-time favorite.
that Savage Weekend.
Oh
Trying to
yeah,
think if that's like a canon triple feature because it had something
Yeah,
New Year's
Silent
Evil.
Night, Bloody Night.
Yeah, that would
and
be
New
a
Year's Evil.
early
Yeah.
canon. Yeah, it is because there's the logo on the bottom left, super beat up, but there it is. They didn't make two
Oh
of the
yeah,
three of
right there.
those. They just picked those were pickups, and also the wrong title for Silent Night Bloody. It's not the canon title bill for Silent Night Bloody Night.
Yeah, it is.
No,
Oh,
did
well, that was later.
yeah, that's like
Yeah.
2 years later they retitled.
In 1981. This is from 82. So I
Yeah.
guess like you could have seen it under, but Silent Night, Bloody Night was reissued by Canon in 81 as Death House,
Yeah,
Oh okay.
as if it was a new slasher movie that has
and
just come out.
not a
Really, it's
Christmas
from
movie.
1972,
Yeah.
but never mind. It's still
Oh.
brilliant. Mary Warnoff on a
Yeah.
rampage in that movie.
One of our
Man.
fans, Jeff, wrote Amityville 3D is okay.
Yes, thank you, Jeff.
I'll have to
It's
revisit that one because I remember not liking it. But
man.
look at this: Zombies Rage and Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. The other one
Ugh.
that we saw, it wasn't in 3D, and I saw that in the theater in 3D. I loved it. What a double feature that would have been. Zombies Rage over here also with the Soldier and Road Warrior. I mean, guys, I don't have to say this to you. This was the time to go to the movies when
Oh,
1982.
I was 10, and this is the stuff I would beg to see, and my mom be like, "I'm not
Yes.
taking you to see
Yeah.
that. You're
I
going to be
begged
up all night."
I begged my parents to. I always had nightmares, but I begged my parents to take me to Friday the 13th Part 3. And we're sitting in the theater before the movie. And back in the day, they didn't play trailers for those who are watching at home before the film. It was just quiet and it was dim. And you just sat there for like a half an hour, 45 minutes before the movie started. And the more I sat there, the more I was like, I don't think I want to see this. I don't think I want to see this. I was like, I was psyching myself out of it. And then finally we watched it and I loved it. But.
Well, I
Uh,
didn't know anything about endangered species, and
oh,
I just looked it up, and it's directed by Alan Rudolph, who made Premonition and Terror Circus,
oh wow.
and it's got Robert Urich, Floyd
Yes.
Axton, Peter Coyote. It's like a cattle mutilation movie. I've never seen that. Wow.
Yeah, I saw the ad in another paper too. But I think that's all I have for this film. So we'll
Yeah.
how do I get out of this? Where am I? Oh, there we go. Stop share.
It's crazy
So
that A Boy and His Dog
I'm
played
done.
so long because that's like a 70s movie. And
yeah, that was 74.
yeah, still
Um,
playing.
but yeah, so all right, so let's do our final thoughts on this film. Oh, and why don't you give us your final thoughts on Anthropophagus from 1980?
Anthropophagus, or whatever other names it's gotten, right?
Yeah, Zombies Rage.
Yeah, just a classic gore horror movie. Uh, liked liked everything about it. It was just a fun ride, to be honest with you. And the loneliness of it when they were on that island, kind of stuck with you.
Yeah,
It was that setting, So yeah, I liked it.
nice. Sam?
Like you said, it's a classic. It's if you're gonna build a library of Italian horror films, it's a good one to put in there. And I love it. So glad you guys we're talking about it. Show.
Yeah. Same here. I'm glad I finally got to see it. It was one of those titles I'd always heard of, but I never actually watched it, and I kind of confused it with Equinox years ago, which is another one we should cover. But I don't want to digress. I said this at the beginning. This ticked off every box for me. It was just like 70s music, check. 70s sound, check. 70s film grain, check. It was like everything about this movie. I was a kid again. I'm like, literally, I told you, I'm like, 55-year-old man on the couch with the blanket up to my face because I'm like, oh my God, I'm terrified.
That's good. It's good that you make you feel that way.
Yeah. So, I mean, my son goes, Dad, you get scared in movies that you've already seen many times. Oh man. All right. So, Bill, oh good, just in time. So we're about to take a break, but why don't you give us your
Oh,
final thoughts on Anthropophagus? Am I even saying that right? Is it Anthropophagus or
I think you
Anthropo?
are saying it right. Yeah,
Okay.
Anthropophagus.
Okay.
I'm not the
Antro.
right person to talk to about pronunciations. So.
Um, I love it. I love the Grim Reaper. I'm not so much a fan of Anthropophagus, but the Grim Reaper is pretty cool. Zombies Rage. I wonder if there was any difference to the cut of Zombies Rage. Like if they obviously they probably cut in a new title, but did they change anything else about it? I wish I could go back in time and
Me
see.
too. Yeah, that would be cool. All right, folks. So we are going to take a short break here, probably 5 minutes or so. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about Absurd from 1981, as well as Metamorphosis from 1990. So don't go anywhere. Just go get your popcorn and go to the bathroom and meet us back here in a little bit. All right.
Have some tonight and have some for one. I love you. I love it. He's just like a little wagon. He's a little scared. Thank you both.
Okay, folks. So, I apologize if I'm yelling. I can't hear you folks, and I can't hear my own voice in here. Oh, hey, Owen. I was just apologizing to the viewers. I was like, if I'm yelling, tell me.
Everybody knows.
I don't think you're yelling.
Everybody knows.
So folks, oh, I hear someone
Everybody
singing.
knows.
And there's Sam. So how you doing, Owen, so far? You enjoying co-hosting with
Yeah,
us?
good.
Awesome. Awesome. Nice. There's Sam. We're just waiting for
Learning.
Bill. So while we're waiting, oh, there's Bill now. I don't have to get into my spiel. I was gonna do something, but we don't have to do that. So now, welcome back, guys, and everyone watching at home. Let's just check if we have any comments. No new comments. All right, so next up, we have got Absurd from 1981, also known as Anthropophagus 2 or The Grim Reaper, which I thought the other movie was known as The
Grim Reaper 2,
Grim
Huh.
Reaper 2. Okay, I didn't write the 2 in, so
aka Horrible, aka Monster Hunter, aka Zombie 6.
that's right. That's right.
Horrible.
All right, so here's the synopsis. A priest/scientist pursues a man with supernatural regenerative abilities who has recently escaped from a medical lab. The superhuman George Eastman reaches a small town where he goes on a killing spree. All right, so first impressions on this. Owen, why don't you go first? Tell us what you is this the first viewing for you?
Similar to Apophagus, it had the slasher element to it. But this one kept me more, how do I say it, like interested in what was going on with that priest. There was always something like a carrot being dangled, a little mystery.
Right.
And the ending, like the final line was just, I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a little unrealistic, the sick girl there, but miraculously recovering, so to speak. But it was a fun ride like the other movie.
Awesome. Awesome. Sam.
I love this movie. I can't even tell you how much I love this movie. For a major reason, as you can tell throughout the movie, everybody's watching the Steelers play the Rams. So, like in my head,
Right.
this is like in Zillionople or Newcastle, like a really small town in Western Pennsylvania, like where I grew up. I also like that some of this movie appears to be shot in America, but it's not. And the houses look like Italian houses. They look like no American house you've ever been in.
Right.
And I like that whenever they have all the people over to watch the game, everybody's eating their own bowl of spaghetti, something that would never happen outside an Italian house in America. And they're all eating this big spaghetti watching the football game. Also, the dad is in a hurry to come home, and he hits the bad guy with his car and just keeps going because he wants to see Terry Bradshaw thread the needle to Lynn Swan. He's like, I got to get home and play and do that game. Also, I like that they changed the name of the bad guy. Now he's Mikos Stenopoulos. And if we go with what this movie is about, the Vatican has gone through and created a super soldier. Why?
Right.
Why did the Vatican have to make a super soldier? Why did they make somebody whose blood doesn't coagulate or like specially coagulates? There's so many questions, right? And he can't be killed. He's escaped. How did he get to America? He gets impaled right at the beginning. And then it's like so much of this movie is totally Halloween. Like the kid is Tommy, right? Like he just wants to be Willie is his name.
Yeah.
He keeps talking about the boogeyman coming. And
Right.
and like Katya is the other girl. She's like in that thing that's holding her neck up for most of the movie. There's an axe that keeps showing up, which is in the original poster. I don't know if it's on the set. No, it's not. Uh, the axe keeps showing up, and it's great. Like, there's so much dumb stuff in this movie, and also it's like, this is the difference between an Italian movie and an American slasher. In an American slasher, they would hint that someone's going to get put in an oven. And an Italian slasher, like, we're just going to throw someone in the oven. You're going to watch it. Like, we're not even going to tease it. We're not going to, like, and her face is all black.
Right.
Also, oh my God, I have a letterbox list for Edmund Purdom movies, who plays the priest in this. And they never say his name, but I call him Father Loomis. Like the Father Loomis of Prince of Darkness. He's totally Father Loomis. Like, and he's just like, well, I like that the cops pull him over and he's wearing a full cassock. Like, he's not so Catholic, he's not even wearing pants. Like, he's wearing like the full robe, and he's just walking down a street somewhere in Pennsylvania. Amazing, right? And there's just so much dumb shit in this movie in the best way. Michelle Suave's in it, the director of the church, is a biker. A butcher gets the top of his head cut off, which they're like, hey, this worked for City of the Living Dead. It'll work. It'll work for us.
I was gonna say,
yeah. A girl is on her way to watch the kids. Peggy, she gets a pickaxe through the head. Like, yeah, this movie is just like, hey, you know what? How can we destroy the human body in the dumbest ways possible? And then, like, meanwhile, everybody's like, I know there's a serial killer loose, and I know we've all been warned by the police. I got to tell you, in Pittsburgh,
watch the football.
if we're playing to this level in a football game, playoffs or Super Bowl, like, you could tell me my house is on fire and someone's still going to be watching it, right? So, yeah. And I love that, like, she like stabs him with a compass. Like, a compass becomes like the instrument. And the girl, like, when the girl finally gets the axe, this is very Halloween 4. At the end is like, has she become the killer? Is like, or should we be worried about this girl, who was once in here? Also, this has a little Halloween 2 in it too, because there's like a whole bunch of hospital scenes that have no smoking up, and the cop just lights up anyway. Yeah, Edmund Purdom would go on to make an even dumber slasher than this, Don't Open Till Christmas, which is a movie about someone going around killing Santas. And then meanwhile, Carolyn Monroe's in it for no reason, but all of the reasons. Like, she's like, they're like, she's like, can I sing? And they're like, yeah, because I'm not gonna be in a movie if I can't sing. And she's like, this movie won't be sleazy, will it? Yeah, we're gonna kill like 15 Santas, and it's just wall to wall boobs. Of course not. And Edmund Purdom like got kicked out of directing it after like 5 days. They're like, you can't direct. What are you doing?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I think more movies should have Roman Catholic slashers in them. This is the Italian titles: Rosso Sanguine, Red Blood. Red Blood. Yeah, but I like Zombie 6 Monster Hunter. That's a great title, because you're like, this has nothing to do with zombie.
Right.
Why don't they just call it La Casa 9? Like, why don't they just come up with another dumb title?
I think that was one of those big box VHS releases from Lizard Video.
You're 100%
Monster
right.
Hunter.
Yeah.
It wasn't Zombie 6, but it was just Monster Hunter. And then in the 90s, when it was fashionable to retitle your movie to be part of this non-existent zombie series of films, like Zombie 6, Zombie 8, Zombie 2019. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
This movie also has a lot of beefcake for the men and the ladies. Of like, there's a lot of George Eastman shirtless getting strapped to a table and people examining him. And then you're like, he's going to come back and kill this nurse. Like, they should have had a drunk doctor showing up in like a fake Lance Guest too. Like, they should have just gone all the way. I also like the people like, this is a sequel. It's not. It's just like, it's the same idea, but now it's not on a beach.
Yeah, it's similar.
It's in a city, and he's like more unkillable, because he's like, the last movie, it took his guts getting ripped off to kill him. This time, he starts with his guts getting ripped off. He also doesn't know how to climb. Like, you scale over the fence post. You don't put the fence post in your stomach and climb over. But he doesn't care. He's like, what's he? His end goal is just to kill people. Like,
he doesn't eat anybody in this movie, does he?
No, and that's what's crazy.
Other than his guts.
Well, he's like, I'm going to cook this woman, and then he doesn't eat her. It seems like a waste.
He was getting ready to eat her then.
Right. So, Bill, why don't you give us your first impression of this movie? When did you first see it?
We watched it on the show a couple of years ago. I think that was the first time I ever saw it. It's really One of my favorite movies is Nightmare in a Damaged Brain, aka just Nightmare. That's the one it's most commonly known as. It played the States. If you remember, that was the movie that very famously claimed that Tom Savini did the makeup effects,
Yes.
and Tom Savini was like, "Huh?"
Right. I think he showed up on set like for 5 minutes talking to his buddy or something.
Yeah, he didn't like that they sold the movie with his name on it. But that movie itself is one of the most like affecting cinematic experience. I wouldn't say it's a great film, but it's one movie that will really do something to you, no matter who you are. If you see that movie, it's going to have like some very strong effect on you. And Absurd is very much in the same vein. Like it really pulls off this sort of otherworldly version of Halloween. It's
Yeah.
not Halloween, even though you can tell they've seen Halloween. It's like Halloween beamed into space and it comes back somehow as this. Like maybe like a weird AI permutation of Halloween. That's what I think about this movie, and that's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Yeah, yeah. I first saw this over a month ago, probably like a month and a half ago. I watched it on. I just happened to catch it on Tubi. I was looking for something to watch, and I loved it. I was like, oh my God, this is really good. I'm like, this is so good. Even I think my wife will love it, and she did. And I was like,
It's
we got to do
weird.
it for the show. And it's one of those ones, as I'm watching it, I'm like, I would love to have seen this at the Drive-In Monsterama, but I think I looked it up, and Bill, you also told me that they had already played this a couple of years ago. I think it was like right before I started attending it. Um,
Absurd?
yeah.
No, they've
No?
never
No.
done Absurd at the Monsterama.
Oh, I would love to see that then.
Yeah,
All right, maybe
Grim
it was
Reaper
one of the other
too.
films. But
Yeah,
I
I
loved
would
it. I
love to
loved
see.
it. I'm sorry, go ahead, Sam.
No, no, I said I would love to see that there.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna have to put the bug in their ear now.
Yeah,
But
Oh, and would you come to the Monsterama?
I would.
oh, you got to come. We're going
Man,
this year.
we're
Charlene and
going
I,
this
we're
year.
we're going. We're going. Oh yeah,
In
it's
a
every
couple of
April and
weeks.
every September. I guess we didn't really describe it. Bill, why don't you describe what it is if we
Uh,
didn't already do it?
2 nights, 8 movies over 2 nights. And this year it's a little more homogenized because the first night is all Nightmare on Elm Street films, the first four. And the second night is, we went over it before, Doom Asylum, Frankenhooker,
Oh
Basket
right.
Case 2, and Brain Damage. Um, but it's just like a really cool hangout experience as well. It's not really so much about the movies anymore that are showing, although they are fabulous most of the
Uh,
time.
it's just a
Um, yeah, it's just like it's a great place to hang out and talk movies. It's literally, I don't know. I mean, I'm just assuming that you went to drive-ins in your
yeah.
life. So it's a great
It's
way
been
to
a
go.
while.
When was the last time, do you think? Do you remember what year it was?
Yes, I believe it was probably like 2005 or four.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Right after I got married. There's one like up by Franklin, Mass. Roger. There was one
Yes,
up there. It was near Franklin, Mass.
Franklin. Is that out west or?
Yes. What's the town that's out there?
I
Right near
forget.
there.
Yeah. There were
Yeah.
Gardner. Well, there was the one in Gardner.
No, it wasn't Gardner. Wasn't that
No,
far
because
away. But
Gardner's.
anyways,
Yeah.
it was. They still have it there. I think it's still there.
Oh, cool.
What did you see
So,
there?
ooh, what did I see?
I mean, the last time you were there, what were you there to see?
I think it was Gladiator. I
Ooh,
think they
at the
Nice.
played Gladiator.
drive-in.
Yes, that's right.
That's
It was
awesome.
Gladiator.
Well, the Monsterama is sort of just like it's a time warp back to the 70s, really, or the 80s. The spring
Mhm.
show tends to be more 80s themed. But not only do you get the movies, in between the movies, it's totally programmed from start to finish. Like there's never any dead screen time or very little dead screen time. You
Right.
get all these trailers for movies that are similar to the ones that are on the program. You also get those vintage refreshment stand ads, but from all different decades, from the 50s, the 60s, 70s, up until probably the 80s. And
Yes.
it's a very unique experience. If you've ever lived through that, especially in your childhood, like in your formative years, and you remember going to a drive-in and just being overwhelmed by this strange atmosphere that you get at a drive-in theater. It's a great way to relive that. It's still happening, which is amazing.
Yeah, and
Wow.
Charlene and I have been going for the last couple years, 3 years, I think. We've been going April and September. I think this past September was the first one that we missed in like 3 or 4 years.
And
So you got to go, man.
You drive down?
We've changed it up. There was times we've driven down. It's a 10-hour ride, so we might split it and stay overnight. Something for drive 5 hours, stay overnight, drive another 5. But this time we're taking the plane because we're going to DC for a few days because we've never been. And it falls on school vacation week for her, which it never usually does. It's usually she's got school vacation, then she's back to work, and then she's like, "Oh, now I have to take this day off. I just had vacation last week," and I'm like, "Well, too bad. We got to go." But this time it's on her school vacation, so we thought we'd make a longer trip of it. So we're going to DC, and then we're heading over to Pennsylvania, and we're staying in Monroeville. So I'm making it a point to make my wife and we're taking our grandson too. I'm making it a point to make them watch Dawn of the Dead, and then we're going to go to the Monroeville Mall because I'm looking forward to that.
You better get there before they tear it down.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
It's closing? Oh, man.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they just sold it. Maybe a couple of months ago, somebody bought it, and we really don't know yet that it's going to be torn down, but it's going to get torn down. They're just going to probably build something totally new there.
Don't forget that the drive-in also has great food too. They have so much stuff there. Like, I know what Bill's a funnel cake fan. He's going to get the gigantic funnel cake. There's pizza burgers, which is the best. May should upset my Italian heritage, but it doesn't. I've embraced the pizza burger.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, why would they do this to my pizza? And
I know.
it's a pizza burger and it's good.
It's not bad.
It's not bad. Oh, okay.
I love
it's
when
just
you talk Italian.
It's just pepperoni on a burger. It's like what a culinary innovation. But and there's people to buy stuff from. Severn shows up.
Yep.
There's
Ron Adams is always there.
Yeah. Severn always shows up when right at the minute that I get the most drunk, and I see them open up, and I'm like, well, certainly I should go buy things. And like it's like the worst. And my wife was just looking at me. She's like, "You come back with that Emmanuel box set, I'd kill you." And I'm like, I was holding it in my hands, and I'm like, ah, but no.
The Emmanuel box set, how much it could it have been?
$175.
Oh, that's a good price.
Yeah, it is a great price. Have I seen all the movies? Do I have all the movies? Yes. Do I have them in one box set? So, anyways, yeah, the drive-in's a good time. Plus, it's like just good to see everybody and hang out and drink and just be around everybody. And it's like more communal than I think we're so used to watching movies in our basements and or wherever. For me, it's the basement, and it's nice to. We watched Toolbox Murders, I think 2 years ago now, and like that was the most fun I think I've had watching a movie in years because everybody just loved it and was totally into the spirit of it. And like, I mean, I have the 4K of it, I've seen it, I like it, but I love it. Like I think about us watching that movie together, and it's like it's a joyful thing. So
a totally different experience when it's shared.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I've always said this. I've always said the drive-in makes really like even the baddest movie really good. The worst.
Well, that's why we look at these movies now because they're removed from their environment. We don't actually have the drive-ins, and other than these vintage, retro shows, you don't have the drive-ins to go and watch movies like this. They don't even really make movies that are low budget, just, ultra low budget movies meant to play at a drive-in. And now you look at them on a little screen or a box or something, and it's not the same thing as seeing it in the middle of the night on a misty screen outside in front of about like all these like dimly lit vehicles that are parked there. Right. It's amazing.
And the people.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I'll go in September.
Awesome. Owen, you and I we'll talk off camera and we'll talk about it some more. So, all right. So this is the question I had, and I'm glad you guys brought it up. So the football in the movie, like they were talking, he's going midfield. I'm like, I looked at my wife. I'm like, is that a real football term? I mean, I don't watch football, so I don't know.
They're using a soccer term? They're using a soccer term for midfield. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a little off.
All right. So it wasn't just me. It was a little off.
Yeah, they even said like someone scored for the first, score of the game, and that guy didn't exist
Yeah.
for either team. I
They
was
they
like,
thought he
okay,
did.
good.
That's funny. Yeah, I was just curious how realistic that because when
Yeah,
they
but
went,
it was those two teams did play at 1980 Super Bowl, the 80 or 81.
They played 79 too. Yeah, the Rams and the Steelers.
Right.
Yeah.
wow,
So yeah. And it's but yeah, that's why I like it though, because it's just like it could be anywhere in America, but come on, they're all eating pasta and they're all
Right.
yelling about the game. It's Pittsburgh. Like let's just it's not Los Angeles. And also the houses are so big and look like they're from like the 1600s. It's like that's not. Also,
That's
here's
the
another way
weirdest
to
thing.
tell it's not Pittsburgh. No one goes down to the basement to go to the Pittsburgh potty. We all have toilets in our basements. They're just like wide open. It's like in the middle of the basement because like you come home from the mill and you like pee in the garage and then shower and then go upstairs. If it did, I'd be like, this is the most Pittsburgh movie ever. The idea in my head that if Joe D'Amato and George Eastman were in Pittsburgh making a movie would be too much to handle. Like I know Argento had been here multiple times and Cozy and stuff, but if the level of super scum of these guys had been in Pittsburgh, I don't think I'd ever be able to handle.
well, that's the impression I got with this movie is that like especially like with the cops, I felt like it's that like especially the main detective, it was what Italians thought American police were like. It
Right.
was what Americans thought I'm sorry, it's what Italians thought like American football fans were like. Like their whole day was centered around seeing this damn game. They're like, can't do anything else. We have to go to this house. I
Yeah.
killed a guy, but I don't care. I gotta see this game.
I mean,
Realistic.
let me tell you, if you come to Pittsburgh, see what it's like during the Steelers game. Like
Oh,
it's
really? Yeah, maybe,
yeah,
yeah.
oh yeah,
We're shut
like
down.
yeah, everything shuts down. Like my wife's like shopping is so much better.
That's
I'm
my
like,
favorite time to go to the grocery store.
yeah.
Because I don't fucking care about football, and like I can go out shopping and there's nobody in the store.
Oh my God.
It's
The
amazing.
all time
No
worst is
lines.
the last Super Bowl. I was in we went to Dallas for the game. Of course,
Yeah,
I had
correct.
Apocalyptic.
of course I had a Ben jersey on. Someone's like, "Hey, that's what you get for having a rapist for quarterback." My brother is like, "We're gonna kill you, like right here. We're gonna murder you."
Touchy subject.
Yeah, like please don't.
That's
And
hilarious.
yeah, we walked like I think like 7 miles from where we parked to the Super Bowl, and it was totally worth it. Other than the worst part of going to see a Super Bowl live is like when your team gets killed. You're like, it's not like in this movie you can't just go get another bowl of spaghetti and hide your tears in the spaghetti. Like this movie, you have to like sit and watch it. Like, oh, this is real bad. And then the Black Eyed Peas came on. And I was like, this is the worst decision I've ever made. Slash played with the Black Eyed Peas, and I'm like, this is horrible. Like, why are we doing? Yeah,
No.
not good.
Not good. So there's a one point you guys brought up the point. So George Eastman climbs this fence to this house, that's sort of the focal thing, and he stabs himself on it because it's
Yeah.
got spikes at the top, and his guts are hanging out. And then he walks in, but he doesn't do anything. He's like out of it, and they bring him to the hospital. And Charlene, my wife, is like watching it with me, and she goes, "They're not doing anything to him. The doctors are just mushing his guts around like they're playing with noodles."
It did look like that. Like they were
Like-
playing with their food.
Right. Yeah, they're not actually doing anything.
They were hoping they were at the spaghetti party watching the Steelers, and they're like, if we can't be there, we're gonna do it with the guts.
We need a more macaroni. I don't know what's going on here.
That was a complicated medical procedure. I'm
Oh.
sorry. Like, none of you know what you're talking about. They went to school for 20 years to learn how to do that shit. And here
Oh,
was
so-
their
You mean
So
like
you're
like the doctor that told that girl just put this thing on your chin and you'll be fine. They like strap her to that bed.
she was
you're-
so bad off. I was like, she's dead for sure.
Yeah.
The
All right,
first time
yeah,
I
yeah.
saw it.
So wait, we'll talk about her in a second, but I just want to say, so you're saying that if I forgot what I was going to say now. All right, so let's talk about the girl. So what was her deal? Did she just have scoliosis? Because at one point they said you've got a deviated a deviated spinal cord. And so I just assumed she had a, crooked spine and they were just straightening her out on that rack.
Yeah.
Right? Like she
Yeah,
didn't
that's how
fall
we
and
do
break
it.
her
That's how we
back.
do it in Italy. It's
Yeah.
like, you know what? This girl's in pain. Put her on the rack.
On the rack.
Lighten her up.
on the rack. That's how they make
Like
basketball
Vincent
players.
Price.
Yeah. There's like lightning in the background and just some guy like.
But
just
am I wrong?
cranking
Or
it.
that's what her
No,
ailment
that's what they're
was?
doing. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it is. But
That's
like,
what it was.
it's like 70s scoliosis is a lot different today. Like today, you'd go to like physical therapy a couple times. Back then, you have to wear this complicated apparatus and you have to get in bed and
They
like, I
hook
just
your
want to
head
draw.
up and pull it
Yeah.
with a leather
She's like,
strap.
I just want to
Yeah.
draw, Daddy. Like,
Baby
well, you
Jane.
can't right now. Yeah, it's very Baby Jane. It's probably they don't
Like
have
when
like a
she's
wheel.
tied up and she's hanging, and the maid opens the
Oh.
door, and she's like, "It was just on TV
They have to
the other
wheel
day."
Oh, was
wheel
it?
in an iron lung for her to help her out. And
Right.
meanwhile, there's like a crazed killer in the house. Her brother is a cute little Italian urchin that's just like, oh, I wonder if it's the boogeyman outside.
With the big afro.
He looks like my brother when my brother was a kid. He looks so much like my brother. And I just think about this. It's like, oh, what a scary time to just be in. Like this was what I thought would. If I saw this as a kid, this movie would have terrified me. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
this Catholic serial killer is outside.
Yeah, I thought I think the kid's dubbing was bad, but I thought the kid was really good. Like,
I point me to the Italian movie where a kid's dubbing is good.
right.
Because like, it's always a girl's voice. Like, Daddy, Daddy, what do you think would have
Yeah.
come?
There's a boogeyman with a knife and he's gonna kill him.
Bob from House by the Cemetery is the high watermark of
Yes.
children dubbed in Italian movies, and he's horrible.
Special Bob Award for
Special.
that.
Oh God, when Bob shows up, spoiler at the end of Demons, Bill, it is the greatest moment in Italian history for me. Because I was like, what could Demons is perfect. Like, what could make Demons better? What if Bob showed up at the end?
He's
of it?
older in Demons, though. It kind of like took me by surprise.
But it's so great. You're like, hey, special appearance by Bob. He's also in Manhattan Baby, and he's just as bad in that too.
Yeah.
He looks just like he does almost in House by the Cemetery in Manhattan Baby. That was
Mommy,
only
a girl
couple
was
years-
talking to me in the photo. Why is she saying?
That movie, Manhattan Baby. That movie just infuriated me.
Oh my God, I can't wait to watch it on
I
the show.
did not understand one fucking thing that was happening in that movie. I was like, wait a minute. One minute they're laughing, the next minute they're screaming. What happened?
It's like it's the
Like-
journey of being a child. It's like at any point
Now
you
I
could be
get it.
pants shittingly terrified or happy about it, and it changes all the time. Oh my God!
Sorry, I deviated from the subject.
No, but
That's it.
anytime
We have
you
a
bring up,
deviated spine, so
you know how much I love Manhattan
I had
Baby.
that
So all you
word
have to do
circling my
is
brain.
if you bring it up just briefly, I'll be like, oh yeah, let's talk about Manhattan Baby. A
But-
great title too that has nothing to do with it. Like,
right.
what? It sounds like a Woody Allen movie. It's not. It's about Egypt, and it also has a babysitter named Jamie Lee. Huh?
That's funny.
Babysitter
So-
was hot.
Yeah.
I was on the edge of my seat through this whole movie. I loved it. I mean, the whole final like third of the film or the final quarter of the film was just, man, that was just edge of your seat shit. It was so good. But there were so many good kills in this. I mean, the drill through the lady's head was awesome.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, I think Sam, the guy getting his head sawed.
I like him. He's killing the lady with the thing through her head. It's vaguely Halloweenish, Halloween too. But
And it went
also, like,
on.
I like that he like is like so like caring about it. He's like holding her head and he's
Yeah.
just guiding it in. And then we just see a little bit, and then when we come back, it's the whole way through her head. Like,
Right.
how did the blade get so big? Like, we didn't see that. Yeah, but the other thing
All
though,
the
with
way through.
yeah,
Yes.
the Saw one's crazy because like, okay, first off, Italian people don't care about their stuntmen or their actors. Like they put him in danger all the time, but it's like he is like moving on camera. That saw is very close to his head.
Right.
One spraying everywhere. It could fuck the saw up at any moment. And it's like there was no safety whatsoever in that scene. Like I just saw it, I have it playing in the background. And it's amazing. It's like, wow. Like I'm sure it's almost like the scene in Opera where the bullet comes through the door and hits her in the eye. Like they put a blank on the side of her head and fired it. Like,
Right.
would you let your ex-husband shoot you in the head for a movie? Italian actors would. This is the same thing. Like, hey, we're just gonna lay here. We're gonna saw your head.
Yeah.
Also, that kid's outfits are crazy. I know that everybody in Italian movies brings their own clothes, but
Yeah.
that kid is really dressed like olive oil in a lot of this movie. He has a very olive oil
It was a
look.
Olive
very
oil.
odd choice.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a red sweater with like a giant like collar. And in the scene I'm watching now, like the cameras, like you said before, Roger, where the cameras like down on the floor. The dad looks like a giant monster.
Yes.
And their house is so big and ornate. Like it has like Roman columns in it and like this giant chandelier. Like Bill said, this movie does not come from our universe or our reality. It has been sent
Right,
to us
right.
from another place, and like these are how human beings act, right? No,
No.
it's not.
There was a lot of little tidbits in this movie I love, like little details. I mean, it's like the priest, he's got the gun and the cop kind of looks at him and he's like, "What? He doesn't have a soul." And the cop's like, "Oh, okay." You know, it's like, great. One line, explain the whole thing.
Okay.
Oh my God. And then that whole oven sequence, man.
Oh,
Well, first of all, now, all right,
excruciating.
so if this was an American movie, in my opinion, if Americans remade this, the whole film would be focused around the girl in traction in the
Yeah.
bed and why she's in there, and it would be her story. And then when you get to the end and she has to fucking finally break her way out of the bed, you're really rooting for her. I mean, in this, I was rooting for her. I was like, oh my God, you got to do something. And I think if it was an American version, it would be more focused on her throughout the whole film. Because you kind of in this,
Probably.
they set her up at the beginning, and then you forget about it till the end. You're like, oh yeah, that kid's doing this.
Right.
Well, the thing to keep in mind too of Italian movies is a lot of times they were played kind of like drive-ins, but different, like almost in beer halls outside, right? That were like they would put the screen up and then just have seats everywhere, and you would be getting up, going to the bar, getting food throughout the movie, and or they were playing these like third run cinemas where there's a lot of moving around within the movie, and like so the whole idea of their movies is always like a ton of shit happens. And it's just like, don't ever let people get bored because they're just going to talk through the whole movie. So that's
Oh,
why it
okay.
seems like things randomly happen. And I never understood that. Like, what, how do we get here? And why does all this goofiness happen? That's kind of like like something new is happening every few minutes in these movies. You know what I mean? And like,
Right, right.
for that reason.
So, well, my point was, so getting to the Emily, who was sort of the nurse, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
because they hadn't focused on the girl and I had forgotten about her, and then all of a sudden Emily's the one terrorized in the house. She literally forces the little kid to get out of the door, and I was thinking, geez, that's the best thing she could have done, even though it seemed horrible. She's pushing this kid out into the darkness. He doesn't know where to go, but he was probably safer that way. But then in my mind, she became the final girl. I'm like, all right, it's coming down to her and the killer. Because the other kid's in traction. You know what I mean? Like she wasn't a main character, so I didn't really think of that. And then the oven scene happens, and I was like, no, 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 no. There's got to be a way out. No,
I thought
she's
she was
gonna
gonna get
she's
out of
gonna
it too.
stab him or something. Oh, and it was just
Yeah, I felt the same way. I thought she was gonna get out of it. Like
yeah,
something was gonna happen. She'd get saved.
Well, she
yeah,
does have a moment when she comes back for a second.
right, after she's been toasted.
Yeah. There was more to her character. She's like, I'm not finished yet.
The really crazy thing is like, there's the scene with the little kid watching TV, right? When everybody is like not paying attention to him. And the movie that he's watching, Say So Nero, which is an adult movie that Joe D'Amato made about a guy who gets penis cancer and decides to go back to the island where he left a native girl and she killed herself and confront her ghost. Why is the
Oh,
kid?
wow.
Yeah, why?
That's weird.
So
It is
yeah,
weird.
so it's like it looks like a soap opera. It's not. I'm here to. I've seen the whole movie. It's very upsetting. It ends with the ghost convincing the guy to cut his entire tallywhacker off on
Oh
an
my
island and
God.
die. And it's like again another like Joe D'Amato
Oh.
thing where it's like, who is this for? Like I really, it's like
Right.
it's got adult scenes in it, but it's kind of like none of it will turn you on. None of it will make you feel good about. It's just all just grimy
Wow.
and gross and wonderful. And one of the 1980 movies he shot in the new Drive-In Asylum. I talk about it in there, but yeah, and that's what the kids watch. So in a lot of D'Amato's movies, anytime someone's watching a TV, there's a good chance that it's one of his older movies, and either that sets up that we're in a cinematic universe, or he's really cheap. and he's like, oh, I already own the rights to this. Just put this in there. So that's why.
Probably that.
Yeah, it's definitely that. Yeah.
That's funny.
I'm
So-
shocked that it's not a scene from like 11 Days, 11 Nights, because those show up in Stage Fright. There's a
Oh,
couple
yes.
different times in
Yeah.
Stage Fright, which is written by George Eastman.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So, over on our Facebook page, Frank commented, even in Traction, you smoke in Italy. The nurse holds your cigarette. Also, the nurse is hot, and he's not wrong. She is hot.
Yeah.
You could probably smoke in an iron lung in Italy.
Oh.
There was one, I forget, there was a scene in one of these movies where someone was smoking, and I was like, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, all right. But I loved the premise. I loved the fact that the guy was basically like an immortal, like in the Highlander movies. You know, he couldn't be killed unless his head was
But Deadpool.
destroyed.
Yeah.
Or Deadpool. You know, and I loved that. And that, again, that to me, it falls in that area where this is pre-Jason. So it had to have been influenced by Michael Myers, because they didn't really. I mean, all right, so Michael gets stabbed a few times and he gets shot 5 times at the end of the first movie, and it really isn't until that moment, and then he disappears, that you kind of get the sense, okay, he's difficult to kill. And then the second one, they do a lot more of that, so they hit the whole point home.
I like that they set it up early in this, where they're like, unlike so many slashers
Yes.
where you find out that they can't be stopped. They tell you right from the beginning. They're like,
Yeah.
like we've
His
created
blood's
it.
weird.
Yeah, his blood. It's bullshit Italian movie
Coagulates
science.
so
Yeah, it
quickly.
coagulates differently than our blood. Okay, that means he can heal anything. Sure, like that's all I needed. Just give me a nod, right? Just give me a nod that he's a little different, and that's all we need. And also, like, I like that he's just like skulking around. He's just out there, just like he's found this one house. Why? I don't know.
Right.
He's like figured he could cook a babysitter there, and I love that there was someone getting ready to do makeup. They're like, how do we do this effect? We'll just paint black on your face and it'll look like you're a little bit singed.
Right.
And, you know,
There's one nitpick I have in that scene, and then I want to go back and mention another scene, but where at the very end, we think she's dead and he puts her down and her face goes to the bottom of the oven. I'm sorry, but there would be black smoke coming out. She would have had to rip her face off. It would have been a lot worse.
It's like Joe D'Amato was like, hey, did I upset you with Beyond the Darkness? Because that movie's, I'd say, his most upsetting movie. He's like, I think I do a little more with this one. Like, I know in the last one we had a baby get eaten, but what if we have a woman get put in an oven and we actually see her face bake? By all accounts, though, I will say, for as misogynistic as his movies are, an incredibly giving man, and most of the women that worked with him loved him. Like they said, he was really kind to him, treated him really well. So just, I love that like, you know, you would expect him to be a scumbag. Yes, on some levels, but also working with him and he gave a lot of people a lot of shots, let him direct and write their first movies, very giving. And he made a lot of money from adult movies. So
yeah.
I'm a defender. Obviously, I'm going to just step in and defend him whenever.
You're a Joe D'Amato apologist. That's okay.
Oh my God. Yeah. The biggest. If he was still alive, I would take him to whatever dinners he would want to go to. I'd be like, yeah, where do you, wherever you want to go eat, I would take you there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I did want to bring up, though, I wanted to mention the scene, and it actually, now that you've just said, Sam, a little while ago about how Italians felt they had to constantly be doing things, otherwise they would lose the audience's attention, that fully explains the scene where the guy and the motorcycle guy is like the last of his gang and his bike breaks down. He gets off and the killer's going to go after him, but then the killer gets hit by a car.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute, what?
That was something.
It was unbelievable. But it was
just
great.
I like that the family, outside of the kids, this family sucks. Like the dad's like, I got to get to a football game so bad that I'll kill somebody. I'm not even turned around. And like, does that doom his children? And they're like, is he like, where did this car come from? I come back and kill everybody there. And it's just his daughter in Traction and his olive oil dressing son.
Right. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So
good shit. That's my review of this movie. 10 out of 10. No notes. Joe D'Amato. It's got what I like in slashers, right? Like what's missing in slashers today is there's no moments where somebody's outside stalking people and the point of view camera shot and stuff. This has a lot of that because he's ripping off Halloween. That's why. But so what? I love it. I like ripoffs better than the real movies. So I really like this movie. I
Well,
watched this movie.
like Nightmare and a Damaged Brain,
Yeah.
Absurd is a family film.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
Yeah.
seriously, it's
The
about
power
a
of the family will save you. Is
Yeah.
what? Yeah.
Well,
You
not necessarily,
not
but
necessarily. You have to embrace the. Also, like I love that, like I love the end. I'm not going to spoil it, but when she comes out at the end and everybody's like shocked by what she's done is wonderful. Like what a
Yes.
great ending. Oh,
Yeah, love that.
they should have
Yeah.
made 10 of these.
Yeah. All right, Sam, why don't you give us your final thoughts on Absurd?
I love it. Right. I think there's a black metal band from Germany called Absurd, and they were named for this movie, and they killed 5 people.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and
For real?
still, yeah, they did.
Oh my God.
Yeah, anybody in the
Heard
first two waves of black metal, like it's kind of like being a gangster rapper. They're like, are you evil enough? Well, have you burned enough churches and killed enough people? And they're like, yeah, we have. So yeah, it's very hard. It's one of those, like, they're like, hey, can you balance the art and the artist? This band Thorns that I really like put out a new album this year. It's just one guy. I really like their stuff, but also, yeah, he killed somebody. He coerced somebody at the Olympics to follow him into the woods and then stabbed him like 100 times.
Oh my
But it's like,
God.
but his drum parts are awesome. Yeah, so this is they use the axe from the cover and the logo. They're very influenced by Absurd. That said, I really like this movie, and I haven't killed anybody as a result. So I dig it. I dig it. I also like movies that put young kids in danger. That is not a. It's just, I think it's enjoyable in these movies, especially that this kid is like, the boogeyman is out the side, and like he is, and that's great. So when it comes to like, there aren't a ton of Italian slashers, which you would think there'd be more of because of how big they were in America. Do you know what I mean? It's more cannibal and zombie and stuff. And for the Italian slashers that do exist, Cut and Run's another one. This mostly they get into the body count. Yeah, there's not that many though. You would think there'd be more, and I think they're like, I don't want to make it bad jolly. I don't want to make these slashers. But this is a good one, and also I'm glad that the dog doesn't get put in danger. That's where this steps out from the Halloween side, where Michael Myers has to kill a dog in every movie, and
Right.
That's cheap. He doesn't need to do that. Like we know he's the bad guy. You don't need to eat the dog.
It's funny you mentioned the kid, because every time you mentioned the boogeyman, I kept thinking the Casey and the Sunshine Band song, I'm your boogeyman.
You should do a super cut of that kid walking around to that song of just him like Bill stutter it so that kid looks like he's dancing. Oh,
That'll work.
I love it. This house is so big, also, like all Italian houses. There's like either spreads of flowers out of nowhere or just the most liquor you've ever seen.
Right.
Like these kids are just hanging out. There's like 50 bottles of J&B on the table.
Right.
Like you're going to let the babysitter into the house and they're not going to drink all of it.
Phil, what are your final thoughts on Absurd?
Oh, it's absolutely stunning. This is again one of my favorite ones out of the ones that we talked about tonight. It's gross. It gives you a sleazy feeling. It makes you feel bad for watching it. That's why I like Absurd.
That's funny. Owen.
Yeah, I liked it too. It was probably the second best out of the ones we were watching. I like the ending. Just it made you think. I'm still thinking about it. So,
Yeah.
like and it had a lot of elements. Just had a lot of different things to it. That kind of worked. From craziness that made you laugh, even though it wasn't supposed to, and horrible families, and yeah, it was, and the whole immortal fact of it too. Made it a different slasher than you see in other movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. I like the whole immortality aspect of it. I thought it was interesting too how they try to You know, like you said, I forget if it was just Sam or Bill. You said about how it was the science. They try to cover it up with the blood coagulating thing,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, his brain suddenly got bigger after his accident,
We call that bullshit science on our
right?
show. It's like thank you for the explanation. It makes no sense. We're all dumber from having heard it. Thank you.
But
But at least you've tried, you know? That's what I tell these Italians.
it's funny, you know, it's these movies are such drive-in fare. I wish I had seen them all at the drive-in. I wish I had never seen so far any of these. I think I might have seen the beginning of Rabid Dogs, but a
Hmm.
long time ago. But beyond that, I don't know. So next up, we're going to talk about Metamorphosis from 1990, which was directed by George Eastman, also known as DNA Formula Letale in Italian, and Regenerator, as we'll see later on. So the synopsis is an anti-aging serum is being developed by a scientist, but when he loses his funding, he uses it on himself with dire results. So Owen, why don't you give us your first impression on this movie? Is this a first time viewing as well?
Yes, it was my first time. Um, I actually, it's the one Eastman actually directed, you said, right?
Yes.
And I could see that difference between him and D'Amato. Like, I actually thought he might be a better director. I thought I
Well,
liked the camera
yeah.
shots better. And the acting seemed a little better in this one, like not as cheesy as the other ones. Um, a lot of things reminded me of the Hulk, like the
Yes.
TV show Hulk with the green eyes and even the
Yeah.
mask things um and what was my other big point about it? Oh, it had one of the worst scenes though, like laughable with her slit throat when she's asking her, "Where's my son?" The
Yeah.
um the babysitter or whatever, the lady that would take the kid. And
Yeah.
she's got this giant hole in her neck, big slash, and this lady's just shaking her. Where's my kid? Uh,
Yeah,
not even like any care in the world for her shit
I
slit
was
jugular,
stunned by
you
that.
know?
She didn't even call an ambulance for her.
Nothing,
Her
nothing.
eyeball was missing.
Yeah. Um, but it also had like a fly element to it, like the fly,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the old movie The Fly. It was, that whole science transformation thing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it was interesting.
Nice. Phil.
Yeah, there was a lot of the fly in this movie, especially I was thinking of the Cronenberg version from the 80s, which
Yes.
was only a couple years before this. So that this could have actually been budgeted for that. Like, well, The
Right.
Fly
Right.
was a big hit, so let's make something kind of like that.
Yeah.
So this was probably my least favorite out of the four. This is the first time I watched it. And the good points are it has that film mirage look
Mm-hmm.
that was very indicative of it. The other one that I can think of that this reminded me of was Killing Birds, the film mirage zombie film directed by Sam. Who did that one?
D'Amato did that one too.
D'Amato.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit, but like Owen said, the acting is a lot better in this movie than any of those other films. So they kind of had a little bit, not all of it, and it still had that weird European lens,
Yeah.
like that European filter that all this dialogue was going through. Even though it took place and was shot in Virginia, you would never know it from looking at this movie, the way that the characters talk, and just the whole thing was very Italian looking, which was interesting.
Yeah.
But on the bad side, I just thought it was so cheesy. There wasn't much to hang on to in the story. Like with the fly, there's a human element to it, which I think Cronenberg did really well. The
Yeah.
first film too, the original, that the loss of humanity
Yeah.
was really what those stories were about, and to feel it slipping away from you, and eventually, very soon you're not even going to be human anymore. It's a terrifying. It's like the fear of dying, really, turned into a drama. So that in this way, the story is very compelling. Metamorphosis like stripped all of that stuff out of it. They're like, okay, it's all about the sci-fi. It's about the green eyes. it's about the peeling skin, it's about
Yeah.
like the and I liked all that stuff, but there wasn't much more than that. That's
Yeah.
just my take on it.
Sam?
It's Bill is bringing up what Italian movies are about. Like, I don't want to get in. I don't want to get into the, like, if you look at the cut of Zombie versus Dawn of the Dead, it's like, what if we stripped out all this socio-political commentary and just got the zombies killing stuff?
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. This movie has two other great titles: Lizard, uh, very easy, the German one, and in Spain it was called Reanimator 2.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, this movie is ripping off both Reanimator a bit, and it's definitely ripping off The Fly. Bill, you said this has the Film Mirage look. That's because it's shot by Gio Lorenzo Battaglia, who shot Demons 1 and 2. He shot Killing Birds. He shot pretty much all the Film Mirage stuff. So it has his look. And I always call it like soft darkness is the look of the Film Mirage movies. Like, they're shot on film. They look way better than they should, but also they're cheap. But I like this movie. Eastman wrote it and directed it, but it's got a few. It's very Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Gene LeBrock, who's in this, is the doctor, Peter Houseman. He's also Father Peter in La Casa 5, aka Beyond Darkness. He's great in that movie. For a movie that's not really that great, also a Ghost House movie too. There's also like what there's some weird stuff in this, like the kid that won't stop teasing him in class. There's a mystery girl that only sees in flashbacks. You know, but you know why I love this movie, Bill? Who did the costumes for it?
Laura Gemser.
Yeah, you can see her. She plays a prostitute.
She's in it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's in
yeah.
it for like 2 seconds, and I'm like, okay, that's all I need. All the
That's
Film
funny.
Mirage stuff that was shot in America, she's there because she was one of the few people on crew that could speak English and Italian. So a lot of times she would be there. She
Translate.
did the costumes for Troll 2, another
Yep.
fine Film Mirage movie.
Yep.
And this is one of my favorite genres that I call Italian maniacs loose in America. And they were either would go to Miami or Virginia because those were real nice, warm places for the winter and get paid to go there. So they'd make movies like this. Nightmare Beach is another really good example. Primal Rage is another one. Hitcher in the Dark. These are all
Nightmare on a
movies that-
Damaged Brain.
yeah, exactly. And these are all movies that you can very much say is like, what if we made The Hitcher? But what if we made A Hitcher in the Dark? What if we made The Hitcher? But what if it was scummier? And what if it was in an RV? And you're like, okay. And what if it just had no budget? Yeah. All right, let's send some Italians to America to shoot it. And like that's what's great about it. And this is in the same way. Like, what if we made The Fly, but we didn't have a visionary like David Cronenberg doing it? And what if it was just none of, like Bill said, none of the lossy humanity, and it was just like, he's a lizard now, and he's got lizard eyes, and he's gonna eat people, and he's gonna kill people, and just a bunch of shit happens. And like, yeah, can we make 90 minutes of it? Yeah, let's do it. And like, let's sell it. And like, that's kind of what it's about. George Eastman's got gambling debts, and he's got to go and gamble. He would often say like that he made a lot of these movies where he was like, oh, you know, I walked past the studio to get coffee, and they said, can you be in it for 5 minutes? Supposedly that's why he's in a couple of these movies. This one, he actually went to America and shot stuff and did it. This is also like a lot of the Italian stuff, like Witchery, Ghost House. They all got picked up by Shout Factory, and Shout Factory would release them. And this feels like probably one of the scuzzier movies that Shout Factory is going to put out. And like, if you look at the artwork for it, the title, all the stuff, it feels like it could be an American movie. But this is the other thing I love about Italian movies. They need to convince you that it's American to the point that it's definitely not American. Like that's why, like I'm watching right now, the football scene keeps coming back and absurd as people eat giant bowls of spaghetti standing in an obviously Italian house. Like there's a lot of stuff here shot in. This feels like Primal Rage a lot, a very similar movie. And it's like, okay, this is obviously in Virginia and this is obviously an American school, but all the other interiors, they shot them back in Italy. Like, let's get the American stuff. So we know we're in America. The best, Bill knows my all-time favorite Italians in America. Let's convince him is Ghost House, because there's a whole conversation earlier in the movie about Kelly LeBrock and Simon Le Bon, and it has nothing to do with it. It's like, do Americans still like Kelly LeBrock or do you like Simon Le Bon? This conversation's like 5 years past its expiration date, and also someone keeps talking about, I really like a bowl at chili. and like they keep bringing up chili because obviously we're not in Italy, so they're talking about chili. They'd be talking about spaghetti if we were in Italy, but yet they're saying it in accents and in ways that no American would. I love it. I love it. Right, and
That's
it's
funny.
like like what do you call it? Troll 2 has it too, where when you go to the kid's room, he has pennants up for what teams he likes. He has every team. He has
Right.
like 15 baseball teams. Kids tend to like one team wherever they're from. Not this kid. He likes all sports because it was just like somebody, probably Laura Gemser, went to the store and was like, "Here's a bunch of pennants. Throw them up. We're in America. Here's a
Right.
poster of Christopher Reeve." Like you just put up like a star. Like generally, there's like a Stallone poster and something like, "Yeah, we're in America."
That's funny. So Sam and Bill, when did you guys first see this? Did you see it when it came out on video or more recently?
I saw it when it came out on video, and then I saw it again when it got re-released on Blu-ray by Shout. So it's probably about 5 or 6 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And
Bill? Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say this feels very there's nothing left in the video store. Kind of. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
or this is a grandma movie, I call it, where it's like you tell your grandma, like, I'd really like to get Reanimator. And she goes, I think I got you Reanimator. It's called
Regenerator.
Metamorphosis. Yeah,
Oh.
Regenerator. And you're like, Grandma, that's not Reanimator. And it's like, oh, you like these movies. I got it for you. I don't know anything about this. I love you. And you're like, okay, Grandma. Like, it's very much a grandma movie. Or we have this at home movie. Like, we have Reanimator at home. Like, no, we have this one. Can we get Reanimator? Nope.
Oh my God. I watched Street Trash with my Nana, and the scene where they're
Oh.
throwing the guy's dick, playing catch with the guy's dick, she was laughing her ass off.
Oh, really? Wow.
That's a cool Nana.
Yeah.
She was awesome. So Bill, when did you first see this?
This was the first time I watched it.
Oh wow.
I've
Okay.
never seen it. I never took it home from the video store. I can still see the box, but I
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
rented it. Metamorphosis.
It's got great box art. The box art's beautiful. If only, as you say, Bill, if only the box art could be the movie. It's like a guy in a halo. Like he's about to go into traction.
Yeah.
A theme, that's the secret theme of tonight's movies. It's being in traction.
Being in
Well, and he's
traction.
got his head in that thing with the needle going towards his
Yeah.
eye, you know?
It looks like he's gone to Pearl Vision and they're like, does it look better with this or does it look better with this?
Pearl Vision gone wrong.
There
Yeah,
was definitely some eye violence themes going on
Yes.
here. It reminded me also of that scene
Bullshit.
in Saturn 3.
Yes.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you've ever seen that, where Farrah Fawcett like gets a glass shard in her eye, and the robot has this.
Yeah.
Her boss's fucking thing
my
is
God.
like going right in her eyeball, and she's like,
My parents took me to that movie. I was disturbed after that movie.
"Oh my God, that movie is just nuts." It's weird.
God.
Harvey Keitel is strangely dubbed
Kirk
in that
Douglas.
film. Kirk Douglas is like, you
Oh my
too
God.
will believe that a man as old as Kirk Douglas could have a
Yeah.
sexual relationship with Farrah Fawcett at age 28, I think she was when she
Yeah.
made that movie.
Oh my God. Yeah, I thought I had seen this one, but I didn't. This was a first time viewing. So all four tonight were first time viewings for me. I thought it started off strong. I really liked it. My issue, I'm gonna say it, when it got to the point where and I know we've been trying to not ruin movies, but all right, I'm not gonna say it, but we see the guy's final form. And it reminds me of people I've seen in inflatable Halloween costumes.
Yes.
And I just couldn't stop laughing, and that just took me out of the movie. And I was like, really? I'm like, you couldn't just, you had to go there.
It was very Track of the Moon Beast.
Yes.
Yeah.
This feels like a remake of that, like a Track of the Moon Beast 2. That
Yeah.
would be a
Somehow
great.
Track of the Moon Beast is better than this.
Oh, 100% better than this.
And Track of the Movies is hard to get through.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I'd say I loved all these movies, and I loved this one up till that point. And then I was like, I'm gonna have to take me a while to forgive this movie for because I
Yeah.
thought it was well shot. I thought Eastman did a great job. I thought he had a good eye. It's just too bad it kind of fell flat, at least for me, with that whole reveal at the end there.
Yeah.
But I also felt though that Gene LeBrock was sort of like the poor man's Tom Cruise, because he kind of looked
Yeah.
like him.
He
No, actually,
really
he
does
looked like what's his name? Christian Bale, I thought a little.
Oh
That
yeah,
too.
yeah,
A young Christian Bale.
yeah. I could see that.
It's Tom Cruise and Christian Bale in the pod.
It's their love child.
He looks like Charlie. He has a little bit of young Alec Baldwin-ish to him too.
I
Yeah.
can see that too.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Did he go on to do other stuff? Because I've never seen him before.
He's in Fortress America, which is Vinegar Syndrome put out a trauma movie I actually dig. And then his last movie was in '95. So, but he's really good in Beyond Darkness. I would recommend that one. Probably shot right around the same time. Because I think it's also shot in Virginia. And then he was on Santa Barbara for one episode.
Oh, okay.
He was like and he's in, but mostly Italian stuff. Yeah. And that's about it. Not a lot about him. But he's interesting. He has a good look. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, this movie was definitely, it had that 80s, 90s, early 90s kind of direct-to-video vibe. And like that, it had that Charles Band feel to it, which isn't a bad thing. It just, the movie wasn't great,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good call, Charles Band.
Yeah.
There was some useless nudity. It was great though.
Yes.
Yeah.
The shower scene for no reason.
There was the shower
the phone
scene.
ringing.
Yeah, there was another boob scene in it too that came out of nowhere. I can't remember the context.
That's funny. The boobs.
The boobies, the breastometer.
I had to go back through it because I totally missed the George Eastman cameo in it. I think I was distracted or something.
Yeah, I didn't see it either.
He was the dude in the office, right?
Oh.
Bill, Sam?
I don't remember.
I don't remember. No.
Cafeteria, maybe.
I think it was because they list him as cameo as man in the office, and I went back and there was this office scene, and I was like, "Oh, there he is," and it went by kind of quick.
Oh,
Like
okay.
he had a line or something.
All right.
I don't remember seeing him in the movie.
Interesting.
When they were taking away the funding, right?
Yeah.
It was his Hitchcock thing. He's like, well, I have to compete with Hitchcock, so I will do a cameo in my film Metamorphosis.
Yeah.
Also, some of the dinosaur effects of this were reused in a D'Amato movie, Quest for the Mighty Sword, which is Ator 4. So they show up. So he's also very Corman-y. Hey, waste not, want not. If you made a monster in this other movie, maybe you can use it in another movie. So, I agree. Recycling. The Italian film industry is all about being green. About a lot of recycling. We can reuse that.
So I didn't find any newspaper ads, but I did find a couple of mentions of it coming out on video. Can I move this stupid thing out of my way? Okay.
2.5 stars. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
G.L. Eastman. Yeah.
This one liked it. At the end here, he says the gore effects kick in, the mandatory monster chase commence. While these standard genre ingredients serve to undercut the pic's more thoughtful build-up, Metamorphosis still emerges as a fairly sturdy B-movie fare.
I don't know what you said.
So, yeah. And I love how George Eastman says G.L. Eastman was his name.
Yeah, that's right.
George Luigi Eastman.
Yeah.
Classy.
Yeah.
So that was like a positive one, and then the only other one I found was this one here, where the other videos that came out were The Naked Gun, Police Academy 6, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, which we'll be seeing soon, and Regenerator. More terror rages in this mad scientist drama. The brilliant young man seeks to crack the secrets of life itself, no less. He discovers a serum, but grows impatient of testing it on animals. He eventually injects himself, and, of course, you guessed it, it has all been done before and better.
Cynical. Very cynical.
Yeah. It's like, really? You couldn't give it a bone?
That's like a Joe Bob review almost at the end without coming back to the positive. We've seen it before, but have we seen it with a lizard man?
Right.
And also, disgustingly, because Italians don't care about animals, that's a real pig's eye that gets injected in this movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I'm like, geez, did Fulci have a hand in this movie?
He felt it. He was back in Italy, and he was like, somewhere someone's filming an eye being destroyed. I love it. The eyes have seen so much. They must be destroyed.
That's why they must be destroyed.
They must be destroyed. That's what Fulci said. Oh
my God.
Yeah. But it's not. I'd say it's the lesser of the 4 movies we watched tonight, but it's still entertaining.
Yes,
It'll get you through.
Definitely.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
you're getting 5 movies for $5 for 5 nights in the 90s at a video store, it could be your 5th movie.
Yeah.
true. Sorry. So Sam, your final thoughts on Metamorphosis from 1990?
I don't own it, believe it or not, and that kind of blows my mind. You would think that I did, so I got to get it. It's not as good as The Fly, even though it tries to be. But again, this belongs to that genre that I love of Italians trying to make a movie again and convince you that it's as good as that by the box art and by the description. Doesn't always live up to it, but it's fine. I'm glad. I'm glad that it was made. I'm glad that I'm not sad that I watched it, but it's not as good as the other stuff we watched.
Right. Owen.
Yeah, same thoughts. It did start off really interesting. Seemed like the acting was good, but yeah, it took a turn a little at the end there. But it does make you think. It had its a little bit of everything in it. Suspense, acting, not a ton of character development though.
Right.
Like you said, with the Fly had that humanity aspect to it. I think someone mentioned it was lacking that. But yeah, overall, I mean, I was glad I watched it. It was the one I watched today, actually. Just got done with it.
Nice. Bill, final thoughts.
Just echoing the sentiments of my co-hosts. I think it was adequately done. It's probably not the movie that George Eastman should have directed if he was only going to direct one movie in his entire career. It was only one film, wasn't it?
No, I think he did too.
Oh, I thought this was the only film that he had directed.
No, I thought I'll find it. Hold on.
In any case, I just thought it was sort of like, I would have expected something even more bizarre from George Eastman, the director. But it's okay. I didn't regret having seen it.
Oh, he directed 2020 Texas Gladiators.
Right.
Yeah. And
he's
that one
uncredited.
does live up to what you expect. Well, that one will live up
Good.
to your expectations. Yeah.
Finally.
He's uncredited for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but I wouldn't recommend against it. I think there are far worse films out there that have come out since. It kind of plays like a precursor to the Sci-Fi Channel movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's got that, like I said, it's got that late 80s, early 90s kind of direct to video vibe, but that's not a bad thing. If they had just sort of altered what his final form was going to be, I probably would like this movie a lot more. This made me compare it to Blue Monkey, which Bill, you and I had talked about on a previous show, and that was what 88, and that was an 88 almost direct to video monster movie that was awesome.
Yeah, it has the feel. Primal Rage is like that too, where it's like we're in a university, animals are getting worked under a hospital, but Blue Monkey's way better than this. I love Blue Monkey.
Yeah. So it's too bad that this wasn't up to that level, but I thought this was really good. So, all right. So, first of all, I just want to say, Owen, welcome to the show. Glad to have
Thank
you
you.
on board. And
No problem.
Sam, thanks for joining us. And anytime you want to come on, if you want, I'll keep you up to date on what we're doing. If you
Awesome.
can make it, you feel free.
Well, Bill was like, we're talking about George Eastman, right? And I was like, yeah, I know. I have a couple other George Eastman recos before I go if you want to hear them.
Sure.
So some acting ones. He's in Baba Yaga. That's a very early career movie. I really dig that movie. He wrote Chioma, which is a really good Italian Western that Sergio Martinez or Castellari did. And it's a wild movie. It's like an acid Western. And it's one of my favorites. He also is in 1990, The Bronx Warriors. He's Ogre. He's awesome in that movie. It's one of my favorites. He's also in Iron Master, another ridiculous movie shot in South Dakota. It's a ripoff of Quest for Fire. It's not good, but I love it. New Barbarians, aka Warriors of the Wasteland. He's great. That's probably my favorite one. Bill, when I watched that in the show, Bill had never seen it, and he's like, "This movie's crazy." He's God, that movie. It is about he's an atheist. They have like an atheist gang of gay bikers that likes to kill religious people. I can't really think of any better way to put it. He's
Wonder
great.
why I liked that.
Yeah. He's also in Blast Fighter, which is another really good ripoff of First Blood that is shot in America by Lamberto Bava.
Oh yeah.
And Delirium, another Bava movie, and The Barbarians, the canon film that Ruggero Deodato did with the Barbarian brothers, the
Yep.
twin brothers look exactly like. 2019, After the Fall in New York. Endgame, which how didn't I bring that up? He's in it as a Korak. He's awesome in it. He's a good guy for a lot of the movie, and that rare. And he wrote it. That's probably my favorite of his films. And he also wrote Stage Fright for Suave. So, which is one of his big movies. He's in so much other stuff. God, Emmanuel Around the World, Emmanuel and Francoise, Caligula, The Untold Story, a movie where Joe D'Amato is like, can I make a scummier version of Caligula? Yeah, he totally does. Like, it's like, I can't believe it, but he totally did it. Erotic Nights of the Living Dead, Porno Holocaust, a movie that has
Yep.
a much better title than it is as a movie. He's in 2 Django movies too.
Yep.
And he also wrote The Great Alligator, which blows my mind. Uncredited.
Wow. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah. So he's his credits, he's about 60 movies he
Barbara
wrote.
Bach.
Yeah, under a ton of different names. That's what I love. Like, Barbara Bach, do you mean? No. And I'm always like, yes, from the Italian movies. And they're like, she did other things, Sam. Oh, okay.
Right.
But
right.
anyway, I'm a big lover of him. And Severn even made a stuffed doll of his character from Anthropophagus that whose guts came out and you could Velcro them back in, which I think is one of the coolest. Why didn't
That's
I buy
awesome.
it? Now it's hard to find.
Uh,
But yeah, and I could talk about his movies forever. But I'm glad that you picked these, and these were good ones to talk about. Movies that people maybe aren't watching, and they're almost all these are available streaming, or Severn has them. Both. They don't need me to plug them, but I have both these, and I bought them like the day they came out. Like, as soon as they announced them, like, of course, I bought Absurd like 3 times. So when it comes out on 4K at some point, I'm like, yeah, I'll buy it.
that's awesome. That's
Yeah,
so cool.
and there's
So
a great doc on D'Amato on it's streaming now. But it's got some. Severn did it as part of the Black Emmanuel set. It's got some really interesting interviews and stuff with him that you don't get to hear him talk a lot. And there's only like 1 or 2 pictures of him online. There's always like the same picture people use. So actually hearing him talk about his movies, it's very adult though. Like, there's a lot of porn. So but it's playing on one of the Roku channels. I saw it on there and I watched it. So it's good. Thank you for having me.
yeah,
I
thank
appreciate
you.
it. And really nice to hang out with everybody tonight on the
So why don't
Yeah.
you tell the folks where they can find you online?
Oh man, Bill and I do a bi-weekly video cast, Drive-In Asylum double feature. We'll be back this Saturday with 2 crazy movies, 2 swamp bits of terror, and we're going to be joined by Brad Carter, who just wrote 2 books for Severin. He wrote The Rat's Night of Terror and let's see, the one we showed last week, Fires. I always call it the wrong Hell of the Living Dead.
Hell of the Living Dead.
Hell,
God.
or there's could be a million titles, right? Whatever one we share. And then you can find me at bandaboutmovies.com, not bands about movies, bandaboutmovies.com. That's also the name of the podcast, which you can find. And you can find Bill and I on several releases from Visual Vengeance. And there's some more coming, which we're very excited about. At some point they'll get announced and we can stop keeping it all to ourselves. And you can also buy Bill's zine, Drive-In Asylum. And we're in this Bill's. I'm in the new issue talking about Joe D'Amato. So there'll be a lot of George Eastman references there if you want to go deeper. Reach out to me through the site. Happy to talk movies with anyone. And yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be back on at any point and chilling out. So thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll keep you posted. And thank you, Bill, Sam and Bill, for having me on Drive-In Asylum last week. That was so much fun watching Nightmare City and Hell of a Living Dead. That was fucking great. I was by the last segment though, I was like, my brain was mush. I was like,
We couldn't tell.
Really? Oh, good. Oh, but Sam, you mentioned Bill's magazine. Bill, why don't you tell the folks where to find you online and also tell us about the latest issue of Drive-In Asylum?
groovydoom.etsy.com is the Etsy shop where you can buy Drive-In Asylum. If you're in the New York area, you can buy it at Forbidden Planet, the legendary comic store in New York City. The new issue is the 1980 yearbook, it completes a trilogy that we did of just, totally 1980 centric ads and articles. It's a lot of fun. Rigor is in it with a wonderful TV guide layout. There it is. Special number 7. Wow, 7 specials we've done. We did 1979. Now we've done 1980 and we did 1981. So those were 3 fabulous years. We finally finished the trilogy. And it's just chock full of newsprint ads back on paper. You can feel like you're looking through the newspaper again, looking for something cool to go see in the theaters. And plus, there's lots of geeky, nerdy film journalism that you're sure to love. Check it out. It's cheap. It's only $7.
It's cheap. I love it. Awesome. Awesome. Yes. And folks, you can find me and my other podcasts and my blogs at havenpodcasts.com. And that's it for this month. Next month we're going to try and figure out after the show. We'll talk about what our next date will be, and look forward to seeing you guys then. Thank you, Owen, for joining us. Welcome aboard.
All right.
And
Where'd you go?
glad to have you. And
I'm
we'll
back.
talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys.